the disbanded Special Service Unit.
Our recovery of dead bodies from Rivayara, we'll be talking more about that and all those other bodies. The killing of two brothers in Kejakoma, Embu County, that matter is in court. There is alleged police killing of a Pakistani national at Tinga Market, Kajiado County last evening. Our rapid response team has already been dispatched to look at that matter. The name of that Pakistani national is Arshad Mohammed Sharif, aged 50. Incident happened on 23rd/10/2022 at 22 hours. There are several other cases of alleged police fatal shooting of members of the public, several cases of fatal shooting of their colleagues due to personal disagreements. So even as we read this statement, IPOA assures Kenyans of full commitment to deliver on its mandate and consequently contribute towards professionalism of the National Police Service through tenacious efforts to eradicate all forms of extrajudicial and enforced disappearances.
IPOA board member John Weganjo, on the other hand, has condemned the manner in which SSU was disbanded by President William Ruto. He says despite the move having its advantages, due procedure needed to be followed during the phasing out of the unit.
When the disbandment happened, we were not shocked. But the manner in which it was done, we felt it was a little bit out of procedure because the members of those units are under investigations now. They are Kenyans and they deserve justice. They receive orders from somewhere. So those investigations are ongoing. But what concerns us mainly is that the IAU, Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service, have taken over those investigations. And those investigations are squarely or should be squarely with the authority because the police, as you know, cannot effectively investigate themselves. So we are also asking that this authority be left to carry out its mandate without interference from the National Police Service.
Still on matters touching on the Pakistani national, and the Media Council of Kenya has called upon the police to investigate the killing of Arshad Mohammed Sharif, a prominent Pakistani investigative journalist who was shot dead by a police officer in Kajiado County. The council is calling upon the government to establish facts around the killing and conduct a proper judicial investigation. According to police reports, Sharif died under unclear circumstances, stating that it was a case of mistaken identity. His wife, Javarius Siddiq, broke the news, saying the journalist was shot in Kenya without giving more details on the incident. Pakistan President Dr. Arif Alvi termed the death as a great loss to the journalism fraternity as well as the country. Now, Kiambu politician Gladys Chania, who is the main suspect in the murder of her husband George Mwangi, was released on a cash bail of 1 million shillings yesterday. Chania, co-accused Maurice Mbugua, has also been freed on similar terms. According to the police, Chania is the prime suspect in the brutal murder of her husband, who worked as a contractor in Rwanda. Mwangi's body was discovered in Kieni Forest, wrapped in a polythene bag, buried beneath a pile of cartons on 12th of October 2022. Chania, who was married to Mwangi for 20 years, is suspected to have mooted the murder plan after she learnt about her husband's alleged love affair with the secretary at a local school. Some of the family members intimated to detectives that the deceased had introduced the woman to his family as his second wife, as she was well known to the extended family. The deceased had 3 children with Chania, who unsuccessfully vied for the Kiambu woman representative seat in the August 9th elections.
The best way for the court to balance here is the scale, is to give the accused person the option of bond, which I hereby do, of Kenyan shillings 1 million with 2 sureties. The accused persons in the remaining 7 days to report to the investigating officer at 9 a.m. The orders herein will lapse at the end of the 7 days.
Now, the man accused of being behind the murder of Githongo Law Court's Magistrate Caroline Kimei's daughter has been sentenced to 40 years in prison. Benson Kimathi, a former prison warden, was sentenced by Chuka High Court Judge Lucy Gitari. Delivering the judgment, Justice Gitari said all evidence adduced in court proved beyond reasonable doubt that Kimathi murdered 9-year-old Maribel Kapolon in September 2018 after a failed relationship with the mother. Kimathi was charged alongside Francis Otundo, who is said to have made a call to the girl's family demanding a ransom of 500,000 shillings days after she went missing before her decomposing body would be later found. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nyeri. When you're impeached, you're impeached. When you're sentenced, you're sentenced.
Madam Chief Justice.
Until the sentence is set aside.
Ukibeba vitu kwa roho utakufa. If you carry things in your heart, you will die.
You've had the luxury of living for 50 years and you cannot still explain yourself. Surely. Oh my God.
The reason for which you went to school and then gathered experience, that reason must be paid for.
All right.
Oh, okay.
This level.
Shape up or ship out.
Levels don't change.
No. It's about shipping out. You know my business partner here.
Shipping out.
Are we talking about the sheep in the bathtub? Or
the sheep man.
Emmanuel Talamu used to tell us a story of they were in school and they'd been told to write composition about a ship. His classmate raises a hand. Teacher, are you talking about a sheep or a sheep goat?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
welcome to Tuesday, and what do we have in store? Looking at these Nairobi streets, there's a build-up already happening on Jogoo Road this morning. And just looking at the area towards the eastern part of the city, coming off Outer Ring and looking well into Kayole, there's some traffic that's building up there, and that started pretty early. We're going to watch out for that as we go through the morning. Coming off of Thika Superhighway, we're not going to have too much of an issue. It's heavy coming off of Uhuru Highway, and that's towards Nyayo Stadium and then out towards Haile Selassie. Coming out of Westlands doesn't look too bad, at least not for now, but we will see that pickup. That is for sure. What's happening on Mombasa Road? It's moving freely. Coming off that Imara Daima drift and then past General Motors is where you'll see a little bit of traffic, but thereafter you should be okay. It's shaping up to be a busy Tuesday. We're already seeing the musings of the same. Let's know what's going on where you are this morning. Want to keep things moving? Talk to us on SpiceFM, KE on Twitter.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room,
9 minutes
the only
after
way to
6.
start.
Good morning. How you doing? Ndu?
Yes.
Mambo?
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you doing?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Let's just say, let's
okay.
Let's just say.
So tu es comme ci comme ça.
Yeah, let's just say I'm okay. Let's
Tu es
just
comme
say.
ci comme ça n'est pas très bien.
Hey, I have so many missed calls from yesterday.
Yeah, even I called you yesterday. You didn't pick your phone. Is it
I'm
fair?
saying.
I called you yesterday.
You're calling me at 8. Why are you calling me at 8:30 p.m.?
Is there a problem? I wanted to tell you something now. You didn't pick your phone. I didn't even have the common courtesy to say, oh, sorry, Ndu. Blah. It's now you're seeing your missed call.
I'm seeing them now.
What if there was an emergency?
You text.
No. You didn't pick up the phone. Were you going to respond to a text in an emergency?
Yes.
Oh, stop it.
I save my voice from 7:30 p.m. I don't talk to nobody.
Sorry. Now I know.
Kama tunataka kusema sema mapema. Sikia. City, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Well done. Yes. Welcome.
Welcome, sindio?
Welcome, well done.
Yes. Kabisa. Yeah. There's a song in my head.
Sing it.
A nasty dread is a nasty what? A nasty dread is what I am. Didin, didin, didin. A Rasta man is what I'm trying to be.
You're trying to be a Rasta man. No, it's the song.
I don't fear no one. I don't fear no evil.
Mm-hmm.
Life is just a thing. You know that song? Listen to Vibes.
I should listen to Vibes?
Yes.
Akina Vibes.
Yes, Akina Vibes. Those who vibe.
Akina Yego and Kwambox.
Yes, those ones. Those ones who vibe. Welcome to the conversation. So what are we going to be discussing today? There's this whole issue of, somebody was shot dead the night to yesterday by police officers coming from Magadi. What was it? Was it a case of mistaken identity or was it not? Have you had these issues of extrajudicial killings and what's happening with the extrajudicial killings? Blah, 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 blah. We will have that conversation at 8 o'clock with the chairperson of Independent Policing Oversight Authority, IPOA. Madam Anne McCorry will be with us at 8 o'clock for that conversation, and we'll carry on with it up to 9 a.m. where Livingston Nyando, our program officer at the Advocacy and Security Sector Reforms, or at IMLU, will also be here with us. We're talking about the disbandment of that Special Services Unit. So, disband it, and then what? What are the implications of that? So, 8 to 9 is about policing and what we see with policing. That's a conversation. At 7 o'clock, we mainstream the issue of drought, the looming disaster in arid and semi-arid lands in Kenya. The Honorable Daniel Nanok, MP for Turkana West, will be back with us in the studio to have that discussion. What is it that's happening in these counties? I mean, we are just seeing issue of drought and starvation. Is the country headed towards a worse situation than we have right now? So keep it here for that and more. Tell us about those things.
Let me tell you about...
Start looking at China. See, the meeting ended.
Yes.
The Communist Party has met. Xi Jinping is president for good. Now wait, they'll open up everything.
It'll all be open. It was waiting until that announcement was made, and then the likelihood of these COVID measures will then drop.
It's not just Xi Jinping. There's like a little shake-up. Leadership restructured.
He overhauled everything. He is now undisputed.
And whoever is around him are his peoples.
Yes. Complete and total control of the country. Proper. Anyway, so.
All right, let me tell you about those COVID numbers. 633,223,370. That's what we're looking at in terms of global numbers. This is also very interesting because 100 million is a number that has come into the news. An Indian vaccine maker destroys 100 million doses of an expired COVID jab. Serum Institute of India has said it had to dump 100 million doses of their COVID-19 vaccine because they had expired. The firm had stopped producing in December last year due to low demand. They didn't really... Clearly, low demand. Mm-hmm. The world's largest vaccine maker, and they've been making the local version. Remember when we talked about China, India having used their own vaccines? Well, this is an example of the same. They've been making the local version of the AstraZeneca's Vaxzevria jab. Covishield accounts for 90% of the doses given in India. They've administered over 2 billion doses of the COVID-19, and more than 70% of the population has received 2 doses. And it seems as though things are whittling down. India was giving boosters to healthcare and frontline workers in January and those with comorbidities. July, free booster doses or precaution doses, as the government was calling them. India has administered 298 million booster jabs, according to the health ministry. And it seems as though people are now fed up with COVID, they're saying. So people were not going in and getting these jabs, even when they were being offered, for nothing.
What?
So they had 100 million doses of Covishield in stock. They had a shelf life of 9 months, and they expired in September. So they've had to dump them because people are what? Tired and fed up of COVID. In Kenya, 5 new cases from a sample size of 315. We're looking at a low sample size. It was coming off the weekend, of course. Positivity rate is then at 2%, and yet another day of no recorded deaths. This is a good thing. How about a banana? Because banana protein works against all COVID variants. Researchers claim that the chemical derived from banana works against all flu variants, including the COVID-19 vaccine. So you want to stock up on your banana. The professor added that the dosage could be delivered systematically or through the nose in animal modes early in the illness, and it worked. So clearly, what you eat from the banana is not enough. They're talking about the protein, and it's capable of treating all these variants. And a team led by a professor of internal medicine at the Division of Infectious Diseases at the University of Michigan Medical School made the discovery recently. It was done before the pandemic to target flu, and despite the COVID lockdowns putting a stop to its research, it showed to be effective on COVID-19 after tests were done on animals. They thought that it might be a non-issue, but they've come to find out actually that this protein works. So it's something that they could use in the future for flu and other coronavirus infections. And that's what it looks like for COVID today.
Okay, thank you very much for the update. 16 after 6. Let's take a break, take a look at the weather. Are you online? You know what you need to do. Just let us know where you're tuned in from, and we will be doing our usual good mornings to you shortly.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. The adults in the room.
He's promiscuous or he's polygamous. We need to get over ourselves.
So I should always know the man that marries me, I know there'll be other women.
Yes.
The relationship you have with yourself is the foundation of the relationships you will have with other people.
Things that we never talk about. 3 things. Stop, breathe, and relax.
Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not.
Tune in to Adults in the Room
every Monday to Friday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
The Adults in the Room will help you stay winning. Only on 94.4 SpiceFM, Nairobi.
We're looking at cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 17. It's clear at 13 in Nakuru, highs of 28 and lows of 13. Mostly cloudy at 16 in Nyeri, highs of 27 and lows of 15. And in Eldoret, it's clear at 13. We'll see highs of 25. Light rain in Mombasa at 25, highs of 30 and lows of 24. And we're looking at rain in Malindi at 25, going to highs of 30 and lows of 24. 19 in Kisumu, it'll go to highs of 31. And we'll see highs of 30 in Kakamega, where it's currently clear at 15. Taking a look into Kampala, it's clear at 19, highs of 30 and lows of 17. While the rain is coming down in Dar es Salaam this morning at 23, it'll go to highs of 30 today. Johannesburg is mostly cloudy at 14, highs of 27 and lows of 14. And it's partly cloudy in Lagos at 26, highs of 30. Highs of 31 will be recorded in DRC, Kinshasa specifically. Light rain at 22 at the moment. It's sunny in Beijing at 17 going into Tuesday afternoon. Highs of 20 and lows of 10. And it's cloudy at 13 in Paris, highs of 19. And we'll see highs of 18 in London, where it's mostly cloudy at 13. Rain showers on Monday night in New York at 16. That's going to be the high. It's also going to be the low.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 90.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But don't overdo it.
No, just pole.
Okay.
Small, as we say. Small.
Don't overdo it. Do like City.
Whatever time you come, so long.
500 meters a day. Preparing for 5 kilometers on Sunday. Yes.
Okay.
Works well.
This hour. So we're getting ready for the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon. Remember, 2 more days until the 4 more days until 4 and 5 more days respectively until the virtual run that takes place in Kisumu and Kakamega. So that's part of that. But the physical run takes place on the 30th of October, which is Sunday. Are you ready? Get moving. Don't just stand up on Sunday morning, get up from your bed and decide you're going to run a 10K. It's not going to happen. Well, it might happen. You might be,
and you might also
you might also happen. You might also happen the next morning. So you want to keep your movements going. Feel like an athlete, folks. Let's do it this year with the Standard Chartered Nairobi Marathon on Sunday.
Yeah. Everybody get ready. So, who's online?
Everybody's online. Elizabeth Wanyoike Muli is in Orlando, Florida, and says, good morning, y'all. Well, good morning, girl. George Kadivane says good morning and he's tuned in from Vihiga. Tuned in from Busia is where Zachary is. And Atieno Jermaine Jackson, good morning to you, loud and clear, from County 042. City, you know where that is, don't you? Uko. Robertson Bogo is tuning from Mombasa, and Nams is in Somalia, Mogadishu, and Emmanuel Achayo is tuned in from Gim, Kara, something.
Yeah?
Start again.
Gim. I can't pronounce
read that
the other
kind
one.
of something.
Karaiw. I can't do it.
You just have actually.
Well, that's what it sounds like. Palm Resort Nyali, Mombasa is where James Muli is. And Evelyn Kavaya says, good morning. She's tuning from Riyadh this morning and says, hello to you. Wainaina Wanyoike is tuned in from Gitiha in Githunguri. Kwa Kio wa Kimingi. Okay. And on the other side of things, Collins Onyango is in Ahero. Good morning. Good morning to you. Sheikh Slessy says also good morning. Good morning, big team. Good morning, Newton, all the way from Utawala. We see you. And in from Kisi, that's where Mokaya is. And John Amasongolo is saying, good morning, my people. Hendrik is tuned in. Excuse me. Collins Kipsat says good morning as well. And Ondicho is tuning from Mwengi. Atuti Dan says good morning, CT, Eric and Ndu, always up and ready for today's conversation. Absolutely. Karibu sana. Eddie Odor, it's been a minute. Good morning, my good people. Kenya has never taken climate change seriously. We are now reaping the consequences. We will continue to cut down trees unchecked. Drought will ravage the entire country, causing more deaths. We care more about elections than the environment. Well, how about that for spilling some truth this morning?
Oh, yeah.
Elikana says, good morning, my favorite people, always ready to listen. Karibu sana. Good morning, great team. Listening in from Nairobi, we see you, Sabo. And Chris Amolo is also tuned in from Kisumu. Many more people online. We see you and thank you for joining us. Karibuni sana.
City. Where today?
Ethiopia.
Uh-huh.
I was about to the kingdom. Then I said, no. I had gone far, far back into history. We are now in the country of Ethiopia and we'll be here for the next 4 days. A leopard's eye is on the goat. The goat's eye is on the leaf.
Eye on the prize. Everybody's eyeing their price.
Yes. A leopard's eye is on the goat's eye is on the leaf. Bas. And the observer's eye is on both.
Yes, the person who wrote the proverb was clearly observing all this.
Both, eh?
And he clearly was not the owner of the goats. You are going to watch a leopard eyeing your goat. Not going to happen. You know, it's one of those animals, we're talking about the leopard here, who kill for sport. A leopard will jump into a herd of goat or sheep and maul maybe 5 or 6 of them.
Just for kicks.
Just for the fun. They're available. And maybe take off with one. But there'll be 5 or 6 of them dying because that animal attacks viciously. Yes.
Kwanza, leopard and dogs. A leopard just senses that there's a dog around.
Problem.
You finish it.
Problem.
Finish it. Okay. Asante sana for the proverb. From what?
Ethiopia.
So it's not Ethiopia now is a republic, right?
Yes.
It's not a republic.
It's a republic, fully fledged.
So we have republic, we have monarchies, and what do you call the others? Like Japan, where you have an imperial ruler. What?
The imperial ruler is no, it's ceremonial.
But he's the head of state.
Ceremonial. The queen was the head of state. The king is now head of state. Ceremonial.
He's head, though. He's head of state. So what do you call that system of government? That's a question. Where you have an imperial ruler, not a monarchy. Like in Japan, it's the emperor.
I'm not certain, Eric, because the title, the terms that are swelling around my head, it's not republic, it's not democratic republic, it's not the People's Social Republic.
It's not monarchy.
It's not monarchy.
Okay.
Let's call it a democracy.
Okay. So let's look at the newspaper headlines. Moja kwa moja. Ndu?
Yes. Front page of the Standard. Tough questions after journalists killing. We saw this yesterday. Pakistani shot and killed in Magadi in what police claim is a case of mistaken identity. But given the profile of the newscaster and the investigative work he was engaged in that ruffled the feathers of the high and mighty, the world is calling for answers. We're also looking at police want DNA tests from charged officers. That's that. And we can't run away from the drought situation because it's a blurred future. School, not an option for starving pupils. On the front page of The Nation, how he died. It's giving a, full-on story about the killing of journalist Arshad Sharif and what is said to have happened with him a couple of days ago. So that's covered on 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And again, well, for police, when it rains, it pours. Scrutiny on a force that seems to have gone rogue continues. Tough stuff.
If you read the story, there are very many things from the way the story is told, even in the Standard, that constitutes what you may call a mismatch. The story talks about an individual by the name of Wainaina who reported his Prado that had gone missing. We are even given the number plate of the vehicle. Okay? And then we look at the picture that was taken of the vehicle that apparently was shot at. First of all, there are two different vehicles. One is a Prado, one is a V8. Very different vehicles. Number plates also seem to differ because there's one where we are told that the number plate of the vehicle they were referring to was KDG 200M. That's the vehicle that apparently was shot at. And the vehicle that apparently was lost and the one which was reported was of a different KDF. That was the number plate. So
KDF, I say KDJ 700F.
Yes, KDJ 700F, correct. So I'm asking myself, okay, fine. What are we really talking about here? Because it starts with a car having been stolen.
Yes.
The man's son was in the car, found the car, wasn't there. That story has been set aside. Then we have another story of another vehicle. It was being shot at. Not the same vehicle. So when this over was sent.
Number plates are changed.
Eric, I am aware even cars are different.
SAGs change number plates.
But the vehicles are different.
Yeah, but at that point, when you're told it's a Toyota Land Cruiser, one is a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado, the other one is a Toyota Land Cruiser, the V8.
They're very different. They don't even look alike.
You haven't been sent a photo. You're a police officer manning a roadblock. You've heard that there's a car that's been stolen. Son was inside the car. Son is found at Olosuritia ACK Church in Kiserian. Yeah. Triangulation will also placed him at Kiserian Dam Estate and later Olepolos Hills. GSU Magadi School are now deployed also. Let's look for this vehicle.
So you have been told of the make of the car and the number plate?
Yes.
And so it's a white car?
It's a white Toyota 4-wheel drive car.
Those overs are more detailed because white Toyota 4-wheel, my friend, that one you're going to shoot very many vehicles on this road.
I think the issue for me is the shooting. You don't have to shoot.
I'm actually starting before even the shooting.
Into the vehicle. Yes. I can understand, honestly, I can understand where a police officer would stop. There's a vehicle approaching, it's a white 4-wheel drive Toyota Land Cruiser, it's approaching, you stop it. And you're wondering, could this be the one? Could the people who stole it have changed the number plate? Trying to come up to mask it so that they can move it elsewhere. We see that all the time. Cars that have been robbed and they are stopped and you find a series of number plates at the boot of that car, in the boot of the car. You can see that. I mean, a police officer will not look at the number plate specifically only, especially if you see there's a whole series of events that's taking place. So the issue, though, is if they don't stop, what do you do? Do you embark on a chase? Do you open fire to immobilize the vehicle? Do you open fire to immobilize the driver? What is the SOP that follows there? But your question, CT.
We have in the past heard of people who've actually been shot because the identity was mistaken, or the car appeared to be similar to the one where the over had mentioned. Right? See, what's swelling in my head is that are we saying that we have police officers who cannot distinguish between the makes of cars? If you say it's a white car, man, the bulk of the cars on the road are white. The vast majority of cars are white. These makes of vehicle, they are predominantly white or black. So if someone says black car,
go on, continue. Finish your sentence.
I'm thinking aloud. I'm thinking aloud. And then we come to the shooting.
So you're told it's a Toyota, it's white, it's a four-wheel drive, it's a Prado.
You've tried to stop them, and they've continued.
A V8 is a Prado as well, remember. You've been told it's a white Toyota four-wheel drive Prado.
A V8 is not a Prado.
It is a Prado.
No.
I'm actually looking into the Toyota website.
I agree you're looking into the Toyota website. I'm not talking about the technical name for these vehicles.
Yes.
I am telling you
that the Prado you know is different from the V8
When you say Prado, people are not talking of V8. I think you understand exactly what I'm saying. They're talking about, they say, you see, a Prado is a Land Cruiser.
All of them are Land Cruisers.
Yes. They're all Land Cruisers. A V8 is a bigger version. And it is not known as a Prado. People know it as a V8. That's why they call it V8. If the technical term for it is Prado, well then so be it. All I'm saying is one is distinctly bigger than the other. I'm trying to get this thing into my head.
You haven't been sent a photo. City, if you've been told Prado, fine. If the person meant Prado V8 and you understood Prado smaller, VX, and whatever, or the others are TX and such.
There's a TX, there's a TV.
If you understood TX, that's fine. But should you not stop a vehicle?
No, the stopping I understand. They are not stopping. Yes, it warrants action. Then we come to your point. Does it warrant shooting?
That's where the issue is. And then when you say it's mistaken identity, what exactly do you mean mistaken identity?
What I mean by mistaken identity?
You mistook what identity? The identity of the vehicle.
The vehicle.
Not the person.
Vehicle. Because the issue of the vehicle here, because were these fellows swiftly moving or did they slow down at the roadblock and then continued? Are details given? No. Did they zoom past? It's not explained. I'm simply saying, my point of discussion is there are so many things in this story that don't seem to make sense to me. Yes. So when it culminates in the shooting, I'm wondering, how did we even get here?
Yeah.
That's really what I'm asking. How did you get the point where... And it wasn't one shot.
The other question, though, that has got to be asked as well is why didn't they stop?
Yes.
Police officers have stopped you. Why don't you stop?
And also...
And if you're a police officer manning a roadblock and you've stopped a vehicle and it doesn't stop and you're looking for a white Toyota Land Cruiser that's been stolen...
You know, Eric, there's a problem here also. The bigger problem here is the police giving us the report.
Right. So, I mean...
It's a problem.
Yeah. An independent party that was not involved in this manner probably would have been able to give a more objective view of what happened.
What would they be?
That's the thing. That's just that
even if
is
they
the
saw it, would they, where someone has been shot, you think someone is going to come out and give an independent opinion on the matter?
Look, it would not be the first time that we've heard from the same quarters of the police. One report a day later, another report coming from the same service, people giving 2-3 different versions of the same incident.
Haven't we had cases being thrown out by the DPP because different police officers have come and given conflicting report on the same issue?
Case.
So you ask, okay, which is it?
Very many things here.
Eric, we are in a country where, remember, we once had a former Minister of Foreign Affairs who shot himself, climbed into a helicopter, burnt himself, and then dropped himself down from the helicopter.
Yeah.
Remember that one?
Yep.
Yes. So,
Yep. Anyway, IPOA will be here. Let's see if Mrs. Makori can tell us something. 25 to 7. Let's take a quick break and take a look at what? At the what?
At the traffic.
The traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your
We know it is cold, but Cold Stone Creamery has hot deals for you. This month, enjoy cups of rich and creamy ice cream, delicious ice cream cakes, and fresh oven-baked cakes at amazing prices. Visit any of our stores in Nairobi or Mombasa and indulge in your favorite treats. Cold Stone Creamery, the ultimate ice cream experience.
classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, on the Thika Superhighways where we're seeing some traffic build up, it's just going to take you past that Utali Drift. We've not seen anything major happening here just yet. And we're also seeing the pickings up of traffic on Kiambu Road. Coming off of Limuru Road past United Nations Avenue, we're not going to have too much of an issue, at least not for now. Uhuru Highway is where there's a beehive of activity and it's buzzing all the way to the Haile Selassie roundabout and goes out into the city and then out towards Westlands. Into the CBDs where you see most of it happening today. Coming off of James Gishuro and then crossing over to Wayaki Way, there's also some action, but it's not nail-biting, at least not yet. On Jogo Road, heading out into the city, it looks all right. That's via Landis. It's picking up just around that Makadara train station. Landis is clear all the way through to the Kamkunji roundabout. On Mombasa Road, we saw some action right around that Mara Drift, but then you get past General Motors and you'll be all right. Coming off of North Airport Road, heading towards Outer Ring, not too much of traffic. We'll keep an eye on things this morning. Let's know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94
to 7. What other story are you looking at?
All right, so we're still looking at this blurred future. School is not an option for starving pupils. There will never be a day when it's too much for us to look at these stories and the ripple effects of drought. Yesterday, I heard somebody say something very interesting, that failure is a sum total of bad decisions here and there and there. Just as success is a sum total of small wins, good decisions that you make, and that is what success looks like. But failure also looks like a bad decision here, a wrong move here, when that all culminates in failure. Dreams deferred, going to school, not an option for starving children. 13-year-old Ibrahim Ngambao and his 4 siblings dropped out of school in July this year to help their parents look for water.
Bless you.
Sorry.
Daily, Ngambao rides a bike along the dusty roads from his tiny village of Dangarani to Bamba, about 30 kilometers, to fetch water. This is a Herculean task even for an adult, but Ngambao has no option but to ferry a 20-litre jerrycan of water up the hills to his home. He makes 5 trips every day and sells some of the water to neighbors to get money to buy food. I cycle for 30 kilometers to fetch water from Bamba and supply it to my neighbors at 50 shillings per 20-litre jerrycan. The teenager has not been to school since pupils reopened for 3rd term. I do other jobs like charcoal burning to help my mother raise money for food, he said. He is the second born in a family of 7. The firstborn is physically challenged. The father, Ngambao Katesi, went blind after falling ill early this year. This left their mother as the sole breadwinner. The young Ngambao says his dream is to become a doctor, but if he does not get any help to enable him to go back to school, these dreams are likely to be shattered. The story mirrors that of many young people at the coast who have dropped out of school because of hunger. Parents and education stakeholders say the number of school dropouts is increasing in Ganze and Magarini constituencies due to hunger. In Ganze constituency, Giriama, Kalunguni and Charomonje are the only dams with water, and they are likely to dry up before next month, according to the villagers, if the rains do not come. Kenya Red Cross Society reported that more than 3,500 head of cattle have died in the past 1 month due to droughts. According to the Red Cross regional boss Hassan Musa, urgent intervention is needed to cushion 658,681 people facing starvation at the coast. And he said Tana River, Kilifi and Kwale are the worst hit. Kwale has 198,350 people staring at starvation. Kilifi with 168,174. Tana River with 136,646. Lamu with 80,000 and Taita Taveta with 75,511. Adding that 80% of water pans in the coast have dried up. 20% of the remaining pans do not have clean water, meaning the water is unsafe for drinking. The drought is so severe that some of the residents have been feeding on wild fruit and roots, such as mariga and mtunguru, to survive. The Kenya Red Cross has collaborated with UNICEF and the World Food Programme to distribute to over 3,000 households in Tana River, especially in areas near Boni Forest, Tana North and Wayu. The agencies have also started distributing food to Ganze and Maragarini constituencies in Kilifi and some areas in Kwale County. But these agencies say more needs to be done to avert death.
It's really, really sad what's happening across the country. And, this is what you just say. You hope to hear something from the government. Anyway, the MP will be here at 7 o'clock. And he'll tell us what they've heard, what they're doing, what they're dealing with the government. Daniel Nanok, the MP for Turkana West, joining us at 7 o'clock to talk about drought and starvation. He's a member of a parliamentary committee that's also dealing with this issue. So we'll ask those very many questions to him. In Kirinyaga County, police are holding a 17-year-old girl for allegedly murdering her father. This incident occurred over the weekend, according to Mwea East Sub-County Police Boss Daniel Kitavi, when the teen refused to serve her father food because the mother was not present. So this is what happened. Man comes home drunk around 10:30 p.m., begins demanding food from the girl. She refused because her mother was attending a kesha at a nearby church. So the girl went to call the mother, and the mother came and served the man food. He was like, but why did she refuse to serve me when I asked her to?
And we were at home.
Yes, why did she refuse to serve me when I asked her to? So he made like to go and confront her. Kumbe, she was well prepared. She had a knife. She stabbed him. He died. Yep, now the girl is being held at the Wanguru police station, and the police say they will arraign her in court once the investigations are finished.
Where is the mother?
The mother is still there.
Where was the mother? They were there during the confrontation.
Yeah. The mother, you see, mother has been called by the daughter, come. Dad has come home. He wants food. Mother leaves Kresha. Mother comes, serves the man food.
Yeah.
Man is drunk, but he's like, okay, but why did she refuse to serve
me?
Right. So he confronts her. Police are saying they want to investigate what else is there between these two. Like, what is it that...
It couldn't have been just that sparked off something like that to kill somebody, unfortunately. Ish.
Yep, there was something. Do you have the Business Daily, brother?
The guy didn't do like that?
See this guy, Buana.
You know, I think... Anyway.
Okay, let me take you back to some place else. Where is that thing? I had it. I had a story.
As you're doing that, can I tell you something?
Tell us.
Oh, okay. 5 cabinet nominees divide committee. That's according to the headline. 5 cabinet nominees divide the committee.
Divide it.
The committee is divided.
Okay.
The suitability of 4 of President William Ruto's cabinet nominees has divided the committee of the National Assembly that vetted them last week as it rushes against time to table its report by Thursday. See, they said 5 in the headline. Now they're saying 4. Anyway, members of the House Committee on Appointments from the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya side are uncomfortable with former Meru Senator Mithika Linturi, Miss Penina Malonza, Zachariah, you want to say Zakaria, Njeru, and former Malindi MP Aisha Jumwa. Also drawing resistance is former Central Bank of Kenya Governor Njuguna Ndung'u, there's the 5th one, who was nominated for the National Treasury and Planning docket. Sources within the Azimio group who did not want to go on record say the nominees are not suitable and that the president should nominate other suitable Kenyans. These nominees are not suitable to serve in the positions we vetted them for. If the committee will not agree with our view, we shall definitely draft our minority report, according to an Azimio member of the committee. A minority report or a dissenting opinion by committee members on a matter before them is provided for in the standing orders. It is basically a protest note by committee members against a decision taken by the majority. This dissenting opinion may be appended then to the main report. Whatever you choose to then do with it is now up to you. The committee has until Thursday this week to table the report, either recommending the approval or rejection of the nominees, and have it adopted by the House by the 3rd of November. However, the notice paper, which lists all the business before the House on a particular sitting day, shows that the committee's report will be tabled today and considered today or tomorrow. When he appeared before the vetting committee last week, Mr. Linturi said that he had 35 civil cases in court, revealing too much information that had not been asked for. So I guess, okay. Leader of Minority Opio Wandai had said that Mr. Linturi had a litany of cases to court that may affect his suitability. In his response, Linturi said, I have a litany of cases in court, and that's an understatement. I have 35. His response, surely get it right. His response saw Speaker Moses Wetangula remark, you are a witness who spoke too much. Kwanza MP Ferdinand Wanyonyi, a member of the committee, wondered where he will get the time to work, given the many court cases he has to deal with. Mr. Wanyonyi said he should clear his name first before we consider him for any nomination. On the nomination of Ms. Malonza, a majority of the committee members were in agreement that she cannot be the face of Kenya, given how she performed during the vetting. They said she's timid and asked Ms. Malonza.
The one for tourism?
Yes.
What?
No.
But anyway, that one?
You know something? They've got it wrong.
Why?
She is the minister, for heaven's sake. There are people who interview badly. It doesn't mean they're not capable of doing the job. Kwani, what competition had she entered? A beauty contest?
Let me tell you, they said what?
Buana,
they said she's timid and she lacks
she's not even answering questions coherently.
There are people who interview badly.
They said it is crucial in marketing the country to the outside world.
Buana.
Her evading of questions during the vetting exercise makes her appointment doubtful. During her vetting, committee members said she was not articulate in her answers. At some point, Mr. Wetangula told her to avoid skirting around the issues raised by the members. Shall I continue? Mr. Zakaria Njeru was described as lacking the required competence and experience to bring change to the ministry that is critical to President Ruto's economic recovery agenda.
Why? Because he's an MCA.
It would appear that because he was an MCA, he had not really done the thing, you know? On the other hand, Professor Ndung'u is blamed for overseeing the free fall of the Kenya shilling during his time at the helm of the CBK. A report by Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee in 2012 called for the removal of Professor Ndung'u, accusing him of colluding with commercial banks to make abnormal profits. However, during his vetting, Professor Ndung'u denied the accusations, terming them part of a plot. There's always a plot to have him removed from the CBK. So they will probably make their minority report. It will be appended to the committee report. Whether they will do anything with that, we will wait and see. But they voiced their, what is the word? Vote of no confidence. They've not told us who they are, but they're members of the committee.
The report will be tabled today.
Yes, it will. And by tomorrow afternoon, we should have this.
But anyway, Mrs. Malonza, what's her name again?
Penina.
Penina who?
Malonza.
She's Malonza.
She's Malonza?
Yes.
Oh, Malombe. She was Malombe's deputy. Hey, I was wondering, Yes, she was Malombe's deputy governor of Kitui. So Malonza, honestly, she needs to work on her public speaking. You're the Minister for Tourism. You're basically Kenya's chief marketer.
You got to be convincing.
No. Yeah, you need to have something. They need to have something.
Eric, there are people who interview badly.
It's okay.
Okay? You put them in front of
others.
They will interview badly.
And
it doesn't mean that they don't know what they're talking about
her
or
job
what to say.
requires her to be in front of these people all the time.
Yes.
Let me ask the question. Are we saying that those who nominated her for this position did not think she was qualified? What is it that made them nominate her? You see, this is a question I'm asking. Irrespective of who is nominated, irrespective of what I think, the people who nominated them had a reason why they nominated those people.
Including?
The ability that they felt these people could actually do that.
And job. Political expediency.
Yes. It's a reason.
Yes.
Whatever the reason.
So, probably, yes, good, but not for this particular docket.
You know, if we go by that one.
Go to another one. Go to lands. You don't have to talk to people. Just issue title deeds.
And whip
land.
People out.
Yeah.
So she should have been taken to land.
Or somewhere else. Tourism, but you're coming to talk. You are marketing the country.
So then, in that case, if
and
you're
then
talking
you
about
asked a question about, just to people to gauge your understanding of the tourism, the tourism product in the country, the tourism docket, and you're skirting around the issue. You're not answering the questions. You are
okay.
Now put you in front of somebody who's not going to give you a second chance.
So essentially, what you're saying is, Aden Duale should have been given tourism because he's a good salesman.
Yeah. Can sell ice to an
In fact, you should go to defense.
She should go to defense. So you don't have to talk to anybody.
Yeah, just talk to the general.
Yes, in fact, just mumble.
You tell the general to tell people.
Yes.
He'll be the one to zhuzh it up.
Yes.
You don't have to do anything.
Hey, bwana. No, kuna vitu zingine bwana. Hey.
And this thing about someone being an MCA, that person is amply qualified. In fact, that person is the one who was given the right job. Because that's a man who knows the pulse. Yes.
He understands the land issue.
A man who has been an MCA, that person understands the pulse of the Bonanchi Kabisa. Forget the other appointees. That person understands.
Did you say
the right person.
Appointees? I heard something.
He's an appointee.
Yeah, I got it.
You want to call him nominee?
No. I'm good. I heard something else.
Yes.
He's still nominee.
Yes. So, with these things, the person we ought to ask is the appointing officer, the nominating officer. There's something you saw. What was it?
Did you consider everything? Did you have a conversation with her?
Did you say, hey, sis?
Did you ask her, wait, unajua kuna ndevu, kuna ndovu?
Like the one who said, why is it a blue economy? And she said, because the sky is blue.
Theater of the absurd.
This was an MCA in a committee asking the nominee for trade for Kilifi County about blue economy. And the MCA starts by saying, it's called blue economy because the sky is blue.
Lie. True.
The thing is, that person understood the term blue.
Okay.
And he referenced it to something that he understood. The sky is actually not blue.
Okay.
But anyway, let me not get technical on this one. What?
This other story is about embattled Meru Governor Kawira Mwangasa. She is on the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission radar on various allegations touching on nepotism, conflict of interest, and irregular recruitment. In a letter dated October 19th, the EACC cites the governor for hiring her sisters as her aides and her husband, Murega Baisho, as the county youth patron and hustlers ambassador. The anti-graft watchdog also cites her for directing county staff to work for Baita TV, a media house owned by her family.
I'm listening, but where's the problem? Because it's being presented as a problem. Okay, where is it?
What?
Where's the problem?
Asking them to work for her private.
Yes.
They are public servants.
So?
The Mwangasa is also alleged to have directed county workers to use their social media pages to promote her political activities. Post, weka kwa social media yako. Weka kwa yako. Mwangaza also faces a rebellion from members of the county assembly. He's also on the spot for ordering the Meru Teaching and Referral Hospital to spend its revenues at source. She issued the orders, the spending directive to resolve perennial shortages of drugs and non-pharmaceuticals at the referral hospital. All right? So here the issue is, she went to the hospital, nini, hakuna dawa. Kwa nini? Unajua ikienda huko kwa tukivaka requisition, okay, fanyeni, si muna collect pesa kila siku, nunueni dawa. Now, unfortunately, there's a Public Finance Management Act which says that all money collected must first go into the account, then come out of the account. So now that's where the issue is. Further report, there's a county public service board that hires people.
Procedure which these things ought to be done.
Yes.
I know what you're doing, CT. But let me just...
The letter says these issues constitute serious ethical issues and, if true, would amount to a serious breach of integrity and ethical requirements governing the conduct of state officers.
As in, you see a random guy.
You guys, the guitar strumming husband. She's husband of governor.
Yes.
Okay.
The sister is sister of governor.
Okay.
The one who's a security.
Yes.
She's a police officer anyway.
Yes. So now he goes somewhere, official function. See, governor is his wife, and he's giving instructions. Where's the problem?
He's not the governor.
If his wife has sent him, what do you do?
So you're to tell me in these other counties where we don't have first husbands, so the first ladies don't issue instructions?
She can go around and tell people.
They do.
And why not?
Okay.
Are you telling me today that Mrs. Rachel Ruto cannot order anyone around the State House?
Now, fear now. How would they not agree to do what she says? The president's wife.
So we're looking at this now from the angle. This is discrimination. It's because it's a man.
No. It's not because it's a man.
Yes.
No.
All these county first ladies. Let's talk about Mrs. Nyongo in Kisumu. Can she not order people around?
Can she?
Like an issue instruction here. She
can.
went in and says, hey, you people.
She can.
This
all those first ladies can.
Yes.
They can go and say, you post on your social media account.
The only situations where you don't have a first lady ordering people is where they don't exist.
Where there's no first lady.
Yes, or if they are there, they are nondescript. Okay? So, my friend, again,
where's the problem?
look.
Now we have 5 first husbands that are recognized.
Yes. They'll be telling you where to jump.
Yes.
And how high.
Yes.
Nisawa.
Look, we know this procedure. Now we're talking practice.
Yes.
Okay? Now, practice is the reality. If the governor is a lady and the husband appears, no one is going to start questioning the husband about the things he has said. Believe me. By the same token, if there's a first lady and she goes somewhere and it is known she's Governor so-and-so's husband, a wife rather.
Yes. Yes, please.
Aye, okay. Freudian.
A good one. Who wears the pants? Well done.
Anyway, so she has been told by the ESCC to respond to all these issues. You've hired your sisters. One of them is your PA. The other one is your security. Your husband is all over the ordering people. You've made him your ambassador for hustlers. You don't know what that is. Is that a state office? Is that a public office?
Once again,
what is that?
Where's the problem?
You're asking people to leave their workstation and go
come
to...
and be doing social media for you.
Once again, the question still abides. Where is the
issue?
Where is the problem?
Yeah? You've ordered people to go to your TV and tell that, wewe enda uongee kwa TV.
Kuna Facebook. Post.
Enda kwa TV. Itia nani uenda wewe leo ndio unaongea kwa TV.
You wait. And this one, all this before the counties have been given money. When the counties get money, we are going to be treated to some drama that we've never seen in this country.
Enda kwa maite, upigia nani, mwisho akuwekee slot. Leo saa 2, uongee ile mambo ya health. Tulisema jana kwa, unakumbuka ile mkutano pale?
Ile tulikuwa na nguvu.
Ile mambo ya nguvu jana. Enda uongee kwa TV useme ile mambo yote, waambie wananchi. Keep it here for more conversations. A very good morning to you. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
morning. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority is investigating more than 100 cases of people who disappeared mysteriously. Makori says they are mainly focusing on cases that are alleged to be linked to the disbanded Special Service Unit.
Recovery of dead bodies from Rivayara. We'll be talking more about that and all those other bodies. The killing of two brothers in Kejakoma, Embu County, that matter is in court. There is a alleged police killing of a Pakistani national at Tinga Market, Kajiado County. Our rapid response team has already been dispatched to look at that matter. The name of that Pakistani national is Arshad Mohammed Sharif, aged 50. Incident happened on 23rd 10 2022 at 22 hours. There are several other cases of alleged police photo shooting of members of the public, several cases of photo shooting of their colleagues due to personal disagreements. So even as we read this statement, IPOA assures Kenyans of full commitment to deliver on its mandate and consequently contribute towards professionalism of the National Police Service through tenacious efforts to eradicate all forms of extrajudicial and enforced disappearances.
IPOA board member John Waiganjo, on the other hand, has condemned the manner in which the SSU was disbanded by President William Ruto. It says despite the move having its advantages, due procedure needed to be followed during the phasing out of the unit.
When the disbandment happened, we were not shocked. But the manner in which it was done, we felt it was a little bit out of procedure because the members of those units are under investigations now. They are Kenyans and they deserve justice. They receive orders from somewhere. So those investigations are ongoing. But what concerns us mainly is that the IAU, Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service, have taken over those investigations. And those investigations are squarely or should be squarely with the authority because the police, as you know, cannot effectively investigate themselves. So we are also asking that this authority be left to carry out its mandate without interference from the National Police Service.
And the Media Council of Kenya has called upon the police to investigate the killing of Arshad Mohammed Sharif, a prominent Pakistani investigative journalist who was shot dead by a police officer in Kajiado County. The council is calling upon the government to establish facts around the killing and conduct a proper judicial investigation. According to police reports, Sharif died under unclear circumstances, stating that it was a case of mistaken identity. His wife, Javeria Siddiq, broke the news, saying the journalist was shot in Kenya without giving more details on the incident. Pakistan President Dr. Arif Alvi termed the death as a great loss to the journalism fraternity as well as the country. Now, Kiambu politician Gladys Chania, who is the main suspect in the murder of her husband George Mwangi, has been released on a cash bail of 1 million shillings. Chania's co-accused Maurice Mbugua has also been freed on similar terms. According to police, Chania is the prime suspect in the brutal murder of her husband, who worked as a contractor in Rwanda.
The best way for the court to balance here is the scale, is to give the accused person the option of bond, which I hereby do, of Kenyan shillings 1 million with 2 sureties. The accused persons in the remaining 7 days to report to the investigating officer at 9 a.m. The orders herein will lapse at the end of the 7 days.
Mwangi's body was discovered in Kieni Forest, wrapped in a polythene bag, buried beneath a pile of cartons on 12th of October 2022. Chania, who was married to Mwangi for 20 years, is suspected to have mooted the plan after she learnt about her husband's alleged love affair with a secretary at a local school. Some of the family members intimated to detectives that the deceased had introduced the woman to his family as his second wife, as she was well known to the extended family. The deceased had 3 children with Chania, who unsuccessfully vied for the Kiambu woman representative seat in the August 9th elections. Now, man accused of being behind the murder of Githongo Law Courts Magistrate Caroline Kimei's daughter has been sentenced to 40 years in prison. Benson Kimathi, a former prison warden, was sentenced by Chuka High Court Judge Lucy Gitari. Delivering the judgment, Justice Gitari said all evidence adduced in court proved beyond reasonable doubt that Kimathi murdered 9-year-old Maribel Kapolon in September 2018 after a failed relationship with her mother. Kimathi was charged alongside Francis Atundo, who is said to have made a call to the girl's family demanding a ransom of 500,000 shillings days after she went missing, before her decomposing body would later be found dumped in Gitoro Forest in Meru. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
All right, a few minutes after 7 o'clock and the buzz of traffic is still making its way through these Nairobi streets. We're seeing it then coming in heavy off Jogoo Road now, just past that Makadara train station. Landis Road will take off some, but it's not too bad as you get towards Kamkunji and then on to Haile Selassie. We're seeing then traffic come from Uhuru Highway, just past the Nyayo Stadium, out towards Haile Selassie at the roundabout. We'll see some traffic getting into the CBD, and it'll be heavy coming off a thicker superhighway where it was not before, coming in from way past Outer Ring, and we're looking straight through past the Safari Park Hotel. It's coming out then towards the city, and we're seeing it also heavy on Kiambu Road this morning. It's bumper to bumper, but what it really is several lanes trying to get towards Muthaiga Square, and then into Westlands is where we'll see the action has picked up quite some. James Gishuru inching along really slowly through towards Wayaki Way. It's that Tuesday and things are already going crazy. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
7 after
the
7,
only
good
way
morning and welcome to the second hour of The Situation Room. Today we're live on SpiceFM on KTN Home, as well as streaming the show online on YouTube and Facebook. Remember, we're running this Sunday from the what's that place called? The flagging off place. What's it called? Where will the race be flagged off?
Southern Bypass.
Yeah, what's that garden called?
Uhuru
Gardens, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was wondering, how do you not know? Yes. What's that garden place called?
You know, you're not used to hearing the name Uhuru often.
So Uhuru Gardens.
Yeah.
You flagged off from Uhuru Gardens and you take your way through the Southern Bypass and then come out onto Mombasa Road. Okay? Whichever race you're running, 42K, 21K, 10K, or family fun run for 5K.
Yes.
Have the opportunity to do that on Sunday, the 30th.
And you can run today, the virtual marathon, if you registered for it. 42, 21, 10 kilometers, run and log in your times from wherever you are, wherever. Even if you are in Kadonzweni or in Kathmandu.
Well done.
This Kandweni place is a place you visited when you are doing your drive about.
Yes.
Okay.
Kadonzweni.
Is it near Wote?
Is it near Wote? Okay. Not so near, but yeah, Nova.
But not so far.
Nova. Yeah.
Not far.
Yeah, we have a guest in the studio, the Honorable Daniel Nanok, MP for Turkana West. Before we welcome him to the show, City, the proverb?
Yes. We are now in the country of Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
A leopard's eye is on the goat. The goat's eye is on the leaf.
Leopard's eye is on the goat. Goat's eye is on the leaf. Here's a proper herdsman in the studio now here with us. Mheshimiwa Nanok, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank
that
you for having
proverb,
me here.
Does it make sense?
I think it does. I think it does.
What's your interpretation of it?
The leopard's eye is on the goat.
The goat's eye is on the leaf.
The goat's eye is on the leaf. Of course, I can visualize that to be in the grazing field where this innocent goat is going about grazing. And of course, there is danger stalking it without it realizing that there is danger. That's how I perceive that saying.
So there's danger lurking.
It's preoccupation here.
Yeah.
I like what Mheshimiwa said, the innocent goat. But he should have added, is chewing on the innocent leaf. Okay? And the innocent leopard
is hunting.
Okay. Everyone is preoccupied with what is important. Because each one is looking at what constitutes food for them or fodder. This twig, this leaf is what the goat eats. So it's eyeing it. The leopard doesn't eat leaves. The leopard, on the other hand, eats goats.
It eats the thing that eats leaves.
Yes, exactly. So you could argue that the leopard is a vegetarian.
Okay. Mheshimiwa, the last time you were here, we were talking about insecurity in your part of the country, in Turkana and Turkana West. Now, we want to talk about the ongoing drought situation. So if we just look back into the last couple of years, failed rainfall, insufficient rainfall, then there's, of course, the visit by those locusts, came and went, so they affected the fodder that had grown. Now we have continued drought, no rainfall. What is the situation like as we speak today in your constituency?
The situation is getting dire by the day. It's very dry, it's very hot, and it is very windy. Dry winds. It really looks tough for our pastoralists and everybody else who depends on pastoralism as an economic activity, as a way of living, of life. The waters are gone. There's no rain, and there's nothing to replenish whatever water bodies that may have been there. So the animals are trekking very long distances to look for pasture and to look for water, because we are not at peace with them. Because of this, cattle rustling business, sort of the cultural conflicts that exist between, unfortunately, Ateker community, the same people. The Turkana and the Jie, the Turkana and the Dodoth, Turkana and the Toposa, Turkana and the Nyangatom. These are the same people. Speak the same language, same cultural practices, but in different countries. And so there is conflict. So it's getting bad. And I tell you, something needs to be done.
Sure.
Yes.
I mean, we're looking at an issue that has to do with, the environment, largely. We're looking at geography. Where Kenya sits geographically means that, unfortunately, we will see this move towards drought. Sometimes there will be lack of rain. The environment will be in a difficult, position. The climate also will be in a difficult position. And we've seen the situation worsening over years. We also then have early warning systems in place that will tell us what is going to happen over time. That means that there are things that could have been done. Even as we see the situation getting bad, I, for one, have been really, really concerned about seeing people dying, livestock going to loss. In your mind, as a leader, from that local perspective, and then also taking the national responsibility into consideration, this is something that needs to be done. In your mind, what is it?
Two perspectives. This has become like not normal, but an occurrence that must happen. The drought. It's getting worse because of, I think, the climate change issues, so that we do not get enough rains. Like this particular case, Odu, we have not had what we could say to be good rainfall for the last 3 years. 3 years is such a long time that whatever you may have gathered will definitely have gotten depleted by now. So one, the perspective I'm talking of too is, it is something that is expected really to happen, and therefore good planning would have required that government and the communities involved are prepared for such. Okay, so that it doesn't take them unawares to a case where it becomes kind of an emergency. Yeah. So for planning, because it is bound to happen, and therefore take actions that are going to address that occurrence when it comes, because it must come.
Specifically,
Okay.
Mheshimiwa,
Yes.
if you just say, what do you think ought to have been done, say last year?
By last year, government definitely would have started, say, stocking food. Okay, knowing that there will be need to have relief food or emergency food distribution in such areas. Not only in Turkana, actually a big chunk of northern Kenya is actually going through this. Secondly, interventions such as drilling of boreholes, creating water pans for livestock water, and even fodder, moving, growing and moving fodder closer to these areas, in areas where they got a little bit better rainfall. Those are activities or interventions that would have started happening because we have a department or departments that are in charge of these situations in government in Kenya.
Should this have been done by the county governments or the national government?
Definitely the county government as the immediate government in place and knowing or understanding the situation of the area. But again, you talk of county government, they will tell you we don't have enough funding, and so we also depend on the national government, because that is where county governments also draw their revenues from or incomes from. So the buck will end up, at the door of the national government.
From what you know, what has been done? Which of this has been done to any degree of success?
Eric and Tim, last year we came from, last year, 2021, is when we were just coming out of the corona pandemic.
Yes.
And I'm aware, and you are aware, that corona really disorganized the world, disorganized government. And so let's keep that in mind, and maybe that can be given as a reason as to why maybe we're not prepared, because we're already in an emergency situation. But county government, for instance, would have started looking at areas of drilling boreholes, doing water pans, knowing that we had very good rains during the coronavirus beginning in Turkana County, particularly in my sub-county. There was good rains, and that kept us well and safe during the corona pandemic.
So this was around 2020?
2020.
Okay.
But then you had the problem of the locusts. And actually those locusts swept across Turkana County again. So it was it's been a tough 3 years for us as a county, and that informs what could be happening now. And so what should have been done was not done, because there were those emergencies that were being handled. The locusts, the corona, and now we are on with the drought. It's really tough.
Let me ask this question, Mheshimiwa. When you say that the rains were good, well, this is me saying it, paraphrasing what you said. Are you saying that the people in the sub-county you come from had a scheme and a plan to harvest rainwater?
There has that harvest is something that has been is ongoing, okay. And how do we harvest the waters? Many a times the waters because they come in a flood.
It's a deluge. It's a lot of it at once.
You really need to prepare to do water ponds during, say, this kind of season, when there is no rains, but you know how the waterways move and where they are, and so you can dam some of these areas and store this water. This is the most the immediate thing that comes to mind.
But it isn't done.
No, not satisfactorily. In my sub-county particularly, there was an intervention by DANIDA, the Danish embassy
aid agency,
and they gave us about 4 or 5 water ponds that could hold between 30,000 cubic meters of water and 50,000, and we spread them out in 5 wards. I have 7 wards. At least every ward of the 5 got a water pan. Okay, and the water pan water is meant for livestock.
It is.
Okay. But you will be surprised that is the water that is also used by...
It's for human consumption.
By the people.
And it's not sustainable either from
It is not. It is not, because it must be replenished. Replenishing means you have rains. So if you don't have rains for 4 or 5 seasons, then whatever was collected got depleted, and there's nothing to use because of this drought.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these areas are solely, not even heavily, but solely dependent on the rain. And we're saying that if it doesn't rain, then to get any kind of intervention would be very difficult. So in terms of watering animals, in terms of irrigating crop, that will not happen if it doesn't rain. So today, people across the country are hungry. Almost 5 million people are on the verge of starvation. Some have died and some are looking. In terms of immediate intervention, what needs to be done now? These things that we are talking about, damming water, storing food, having irrigation systems set up whereby you're using a minimal amount of water to water crop, those are not things that can be done with immediacy. Obviously, policy that we know has been developed needs to be put in place. But today, people are hungry. What needs to happen today?
What needs to happen today and now is there is need for emergency relief or food relief interventions as an immediate action or activity. There is need to provide fodder for the livestock, or animal feed for that matter, for these animals that are still around. Because as we continue into this very difficult time, animals, that cows and goats and sheep that move, and even camels, unfortunately even camels now are affected, will be required to move very long distances. There's nothing as bad as moving animals that are emaciated already, going to look for water.
They will die.
Yeah. You just 2 days, and all those animals, if they were to lie, they will all remain there. None of them will move after that. Or if they get to drink, they will all remain at the watering point. So, as an immediate intervention, we need food for the people. We need food or fodder for the livestock. And there will be need to do water tracking for both people and animals in those very severely hit areas. And they're just about the whole county, actually. Actually, right now, with the Turkana, what we know as Turkana Central, parts of, literally the whole of Turkana North now, parts of Turkana East and South, there's nothing. There are no animals. All the animals are moving towards the border, the international border areas where they think they can get something. And you know how vast Turkana is. As an immediate action also, I think we need just to face it and say, maybe Kenya as a country, within our own resources, we may not be in a position to sort out this problem because it is affecting a very huge population. And therefore, why can't the president and the country declare this a national disaster? So that the rest of the world can actually come in to support us.
That was done by the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, in 2021. And they said that the budget for addressing it was 6 billion shillings. The government was putting aside 2 billion shillings and now opening up the gates for resource mobilization for another 4 billion shillings. We don't know how far that has gone. And the importance
in 2021.
That was last year. So we are a year into a national disaster that is still ongoing, that is threatening to get worse. City, you were asking something.
It's a problem, and we are all trying to determine how best we should handle this problem. Yet, if you look at the cycles of drought in this country, you talk about from the 60s. Let's talk about Turkana specifically. The cycles were 5-year cycles. They're now almost yearly. Now, we've had a prolonged one. It's not yearly. It's just ongoing, meaning it's become the norm. We actually have a state agency that is charged with this duty of managing such disasters. It's their job. That's what they're supposed to do. We are not the only country in the world that has had this problem, but we have a unique benefit. We have research organizations that understand these severe natural conditions like drought, even floods. We have Calro, we have Chemfree, we have the forestry research. We have all these organizations who are in a position to help us understand, going forward, the sort of, for instance, grasses you need to plant in places like Turkana. Grasses that are resistant to drought. Trees that are resistant. Crops that are resistant. In addition to that, when you talk about harvesting water, it is true that even when we talk of drought, we often talk of the twin disaster that is caused by more rain than you know what to do with. It's an even bigger disaster because rain is useful, but we simply let it go away. We never do anything with it. And yet containing it and making sure that we harvest it is something that can be done. It doesn't require a lot of technicalities. It is not really that costly. It's something that the county government can do. Now, what am I saying? I am saying that we haven't exhausted the resources that we have within the country fully. Mheshimiwa, grass that has been developed by Calro in this country is what sheep and cattle feed on in Australia and in Brazil, in case you didn't know. We exported that grass. We have the know-how. Why Calro doesn't have a huge station in some of these semi-arid places in the country? They once upon a time did. We know this for a fact because in some of the places like Kilifi, they had these stations. Somewhere along the line, they were let go of funding, whatever the issues. But areas like that, where apart from just carrying out the research, the implementation can take place because there is the know-how to ensure that drought and the situations around it are mitigated against. I'm talking about local capacity before we go to international. It hasn't been exhausted. The governments talk about huge amounts of money and what they plan to do, will always touch the surface of the problem, but it will never provide a lasting solution, which, irrespective of which government comes in, year out, you're able to say, we have this in place, all we need to do is ensure that it continues working. Because you have water pans. Do you dredge the water pans? Because if you don't dredge them, what happens the time when it rains? Silt comes in and the surface area of those water pans get less. So with every passing season, it contains less and less water.
Muga, I mean, just as you've, mentioned about the research institution being there, and so we have local capacity as Kenya
we do
to be able to handle these problems. Then what the question that begs the answer is, and so what? Is it funding? Is it the government that is not funding? No. Government funds institutions. Calro is funded every year. It's not that it is not funded. Where is the problem? Well, 2020, because of knowing these challenges of lack of water and therefore the need to store water, I had asked the water ministry to give me some water pans. I mean, they were budgeting for water pans, and I went asking to the PS, and he gave me a water pan. Actually, not one, two, to do in my constituency, and I had identified 2 areas. What happened is, when the water resource, what is this, water resource authority were now to implement that water pan. They tendered it, gave it to some guy from Nairobi here to come and implement in a very remote area of my constituency. Do you know that water pan was not done?
Was not done meaning what?
Effectively, it was not done. I mean, I don't have a water pan.
So what did the contractor do?
Whatever the contractor did, he went to the site, tried to do some work, and ran away.
And he was paid.
Now, whether he was paid or not...
So there was nothing to harvest the water?
Yes. The intervention, which had he done what was supposed to be done, had there been supervision of that work by the authority that gave the work, at least would have an extra...
We'd have had 2 extra.
Yes, I would have had 2 water bodies that would help my pastoralists. None was there. That is one other problem. Okay?
Challenges.
So
Let's
when
take a break,
Muga says, we are capacity, Kenyans, we have a problem.
It's 26 minutes to 8. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The Honorable Daniel Nanok is the MP for Turkana West. We are talking about the disaster that's unfolding across the country. With this drought, people don't have food, livestock don't have access to fodder, no access to water. What is happening and what needs to happen immediately? Have you heard about The Room? The Room is a community that connects top tech talent to meaningful opportunities. If you want to learn more, please visit theroom.com. For top tech talent, if you are one of those that considers themselves top tech talent, go there, find out how you can join The Room. And if you're looking for meaningful top tech talent as an employer, go to The Room as well. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The adults in the room.
He's promiscuous or he's polygamous. We need to get over ourselves.
So I should always know the man that marries me, I know there'll be other women.
Yes.
The relationship you have with yourself is the foundation of the relationships you will have with other people.
Things that we never talk about. 3 things. Stop, breathe, and relax.
Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not.
Tune in to Adults in the Room
every Monday to Friday from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m.
The adults in the room will help you stay winning. Only on 94.4 SpiceFM, Nairobi.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi at 17, highs of 28 today. And we'll see highs of 27 in sunny Nakuru. Currently at 15, it's 16 and mostly cloudy in Nyeri, highs of 27, and 26 will be the high in Eldoret, where it's sunny at 15. Light rain in Mombasa in some parts, highs of 30 and lows of 24, and we'll see highs of 30 and lows of 24 in a wet Malindi this morning as well. It's sunny at 20 in Kisumu, highs of 31, and we'll see highs of 30 in Kakamega, where the sun is up at 20. 21 and sunny in Kampala, highs of 31, and 30 will be the high in a rainy Dar es Salaam this morning at 26. It's 15 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 27 and lows of 14, and it's 25 and clear in Lagos, highs of 30 and lows of 25. We'll see lows of 21, which is what it currently is in a mostly clear Kinshasa, going to highs of 31. We are still in traffic hour this morning at a few minutes after 7:30, and there's traffic on Langata Road, and that's not been there for a while, but it's spilling over to Aerodrome and then heading out towards Uhuru Highway. That'll take you then into the city and then out towards Westlands. On Jogger Road still continues to be pretty heavy, especially around Makadara, and then going towards Landis Road is where we're seeing a little bit of traffic now for the first time this morning. Into the CBD, there's traffic coming in from the Thika Superhighway, that's heavy as well, and Kiambu Road is doing the thing that Kiambu Road does every day. Limuru Road is heavy, traffic coming in from all parts of Gigiri, and then out from Runda and then onto United Nations Avenue and into the city. We're looking at it heavy on James Gishore as well, and traffic is also continuing on Ring Road Westlands. The whole of Westlands now is a buzz of activity and traffic is piling up as you go along. On the Thika Superhighway, use the service lanes. That is what folks are saying because your main highway traffic is a mess. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there and let's keep things moving this morning.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
We continue the
Spice
conversation
FM.
with the Honourable Daniel Nanok MP, Turkana West. We are talking about the unfolding food insecurity situation in the country. People sleeping, waking up without any hope of anything to eat or drink. Mheshimiwa, if you just look at the speeches by the Minister for Finance in the last couple of years, 2020, 21, 21, 22, now 22, 23, there's always mention of supporting either the arid and semi-arid areas, the pastoralists, looking at drought mitigation measures, disaster response, and allocating hundreds of millions, if not billions of shillings every year. Where does this money go? And when you are looking at it as Parliament, do you ever raise the question of whether the money is sufficient or not? Like, let me give you, I've just looked at the speech, not the current budget, but the previous budget, 2021-2022, where in his speech to Parliament, he spoke about improving livestock production, setting aside 3 billion shillings for disease holding ground in Lamu. That's one side, but also 488 million shillings set aside for the Regional Pastoral Livelihood Resilience Project. Regional Pastoral Livelihood Resilience Project. That sounds very much like what should be coming to your area.
Yeah.
455 million shillings for the Kenya Livestock Commercialization Program should be coming to you. 163 million shillings for Livestock Value Chain Support Project. If you look at what else comes into your area, there's a lot of money here that I'm just seeing, in hundreds of billions. If you combine, it's to the tune of billions of shillings in every year. In supplementary budgets, the one that was taken to Parliament before the election, there was money set aside for disaster and, of course, drought mitigation. Where does this money go?
Good. It's a good observation, Eric. Government is a big institution. And when the minister reads all those, get to know that the budget is a plan. And sometimes plans don't get implemented. Some, of course, I mean, a good chunk, of course, gets implemented, but some don't get implemented. I was lucky to be in that committee that oversights the National Treasury and the planning docket. And we have had these conversations with the minister for the whole time he's been there. One thing that happened is there was a change of plan in the ministry by the government on how to handle emergencies in these arid and semi-arid areas. I think it should have been 2019, 2020. Before 2019, there was a monthly support program given to ASAL areas, what they used to call emergency food relief.
Yep.
It was a monthly budgeted item where you would get some maize, beans, cooking oil, some nutritional value, high value nutrition food.
From national government, sorry.
From the national government.
Okay.
And that food would go to every sub-county. Okay? It wasn't a lot of food, but it was, like in my constituency, I would get about 500 bags of maize a month, 200 or 300 bags of beans, about 100 cartons of oil. This, as it was stated, was emergency relief. So it was augmenting whatever used to be there. Mark you that there is also a program called the Cash Transfer Program by the government, Hunger Safety Net Program, under the Ministry of Social,
the Department for Social Protection.
Yes, Social Protection, correct. And these were programs that were ongoing. But this was stopped by government. Then the government said, let us handle all these emergencies through the contingency fund. To get to the contingency fund, you must declare these disasters.
Yeah.
Okay? And it is a figure, it's a known figure. Every year they used to budget about 5 billion in the contingency fund. But only used when there was an announcement of an emergency. So for as long as you have not announced, you don't reach out to the contingency fund. It's not accessible to anybody or to any department. So the ministry would keep that money until you get those emergencies declared. But before that, it wasn't being declared. You provided for it as a budget line item for some government department. ASAL department in the Ministry of Devolution used to get that money.
Okay.
And they used to give that relief. That thing was stopped.
Why?
September last year.
Maybe government would know why they did that. Reorganization of expenditure. Maybe there could have been wastages, I don't know. Whatever informed that decision, we tried to argue, particularly those of us from the ASAL areas, that this was going to seriously affect our livelihoods. And our reasoning wasn't taken in. And so the decision was made. Kidogo, a lot of money goes to equalization fund. On an annual basis, 7 billion, 8 billion. That money is not serving any purpose. It has not flowed. It's not being implemented. Equalization fund has not been activated.
It's about to
with
expire.
all the challenges of, I don't know, the county governments saying they are the ones who should implement. The national government, of course, reads the constitution. They can implement it directly. And so that bickering between the two government levels of government has costed the ASAL areas development that would have gone towards some of this mitigation
Before City asks this question,
measures.
Mheshimiwa, I just want to remind you that on the 8th of September last year, a meeting took place in State House, Nairobi, between the President of the Republic of Kenya, then Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, and 85 leaders from the Kenya arid and semi-arid lands. And this is where the ongoing drought was declared a national disaster. And the President directed the National Treasury and the Ministry of Interior to spearhead the government's efforts to assist affected households, including water and relief food distribution, as well as livestock uptake. Were you in that meeting?
I wasn't in that meeting. You're saying in State House?
In State House,
September I used to be a member of the Jubilee Party. So I should have been in that meeting. I don't know how it...
You are a leader from ASAL.
Yes. And how I didn't attend that meeting. That must have been some of those meetings that were that were politically
85
planned.
Leaders from the ASAL areas.
Yeah. It could have been cherry picking.
It was declared a national disaster. As a member of the crucial committee of the National Assembly, did it also not come to your attention that now we have a national disaster? So the money that was said we cannot get into the consolidated fund anymore because of the contingency fund, because of this and the other. Now we have a disaster in place, a national disaster has been declared, so we can now access the money.
You know, Eric, pronouncements are not equal to activity. Okay? Already you're saying this meeting took place. I, as an MP from that particular area, wasn't invited into the meeting. Well, I don't have necessarily to have been there, but if action was, if decisions were made, they would have reached our people, and I would have seen. Yeah. So those decisions that were made on that 8th of September have not reached. They have not, helped our people. Mm-hmm. What happened is that there was some lopsided intervention in some of the areas. Yeah? Some of the areas maybe where the minister would come from, maybe were the ones that were supported. The rest were not. And
but
so...
I'm seeing something that you're doing, Wishmu, and I don't want you to get out of this. As a responsible leader from this area, as somebody who sits in which committee of the National Assembly was that?
That was finance.
That was the finance committee. Planning. All right, finance and planning committee. You're the ones who actually look, in addition to the budget committee, you look at now the taxation measures the government is putting in place and all those, and reviewing what the government is doing with the money that it's collecting. Now, you are saying you are not aware that this meeting took place. It's okay. Yeah. But a year down the road, Washimua, you do not know that the national disaster was declared then. And even now, as you looked at this year's, the 2022-2023 budget, and looking at the finance measures, as a leader of the people of Turkana West, didn't you ask yourself, so where is the money going to come from to help my people? Because we're clearly going to have a serious situation.
Eric, these plans are there. Okay? The budget 2022-20 is there. We already did it. Okay? By April of this year, we had already done away with the budget for this financial year. So we know that there is a planned budgets have been done to be able to support these activities. Of course, we ask these questions. We ask the Ministry of ASAL, is under devolution, okay? Yeah. And that is where this relief, ASAL department, the one that is actually in charge of relief and emergencies, is domiciled. So what do they say? They say they're planning, they're buying food. You know, we've been told food is coming for the last 2 months. It's not reaching. Yeah? So, not that the plan is there. And actions have been pronounced. But
they have not been
actual
implemented.
Thing.
And I think that's probably
and that is where the challenge is. I don't know which is this button that I need to press so that this food can start flowing.
I think another question that people are asking is that how many more people need to die in order for this to happen? How many more children do we need to see falling from weakness? How many more herds of cattle we need to see dying? How many more children out of school do we need to see in order for something to be done? And I think I don't want to call it an emergency situation anymore. It is the situation. It's not a situation where now we have to now start being up in arms and shouting, oh my goodness, people are dying from hunger. Because this is not something that crept up on the country one day to the next and voila, here we are. This is something that has been happening for years. The geographic situation kind of forces this issue. So isn't it about time then that decisions became prescriptive in nature as to what needs to be done? We know that this area is going to be compromised. These areas around the country will be compromised because of lack of rain. We know that is going to happen. We know that it will probably occur in another 5 years. So this thing we are talking about, where every budget, shouldn't it then be, and isn't this what should be lobbied for on the floor of the National Assembly? For example, these 85 leaders that we are talking about talk about things like making it part of the national budget where food is provided in the budget, because we know that rainfall is going to be an issue in these areas. Food is provided, the same thing that you're talking about, on a monthly basis. It should be made law, because we know that this problem is going to occur. And when we ask ourselves the questions, what should be done, and we talk about some stopgap measure like water bowsers, it is not the solution. The solution is, we know that there's going to be rainfall. Can we legislate? And that's what members of parliament ought to do on the floor. Can we legislate and say that it doesn't matter? Food should be made available to people who are vulnerable in these areas. When the rains come, can measures be put in place to make sure that you save what little water you have, you store whatever little food you have, but the national government takes the responsibility for feeding people who are in these vulnerable areas? That's what ought to be done. Not this building a water pan here and then it disappears, somebody runs off with money and then we say, okay, let's wait for rain. It hasn't shown up for 3 years. It's not going to show up this year.
Mheshimiwa, in 2013, an aquifer, which we were told had the capacity of 200, yes, you know where I'm going with this, because you also mentioned in that report and the comments that you made, 200 billion cubic meters of water, which ostensibly could serve the entire Kenyan population for 70 years. However, small little however, not really drinkable, that water. But there was mention of a Saudi investor who was willing to put up a desalination plant. Again, these plants we speak of, where did that fizzle to? Let's start with, does the aquifer exist?
Going by the pronouncements and the research finding,
yes,
it is there.
Okay.
Because a borehole was drilled, which whose yield, I think, is over 100 cubic meters of water per hour.
Yes, serious water.
Yeah, a lot of water. But you've put on the rider that it is not
readily drinkable.
Yes. About the Saudi investor, to me, it's
a story.
Because if the investor is there, why has he or she not appeared? Because we need that water, like yesterday.
You see, the more pertinent question is...
And again, you look at the level of investment that is required to bring out that water. It's huge. It's not the kind of thing you would ask a county government that receives money in doses from national government to undertake on their own.
It has to be a national project.
It has to be a national project.
It even goes further.
And that aquifer sits fully in my constituency.
Yes, it does.
And it is in one of the driest areas of my constituency. So,
President Ruto,
it is about the president, even in 2017, the former president, when he was campaigning in Kakuma, and I have a clip to that effect, he promised to bring out that water if we voted him in, and that is one reason that informed the votes he got in 2017 from my constituency.
Currently, the president
he didn't do anything.
The president has said, after being elected into office, one of the things that the President Ruto has said is that he'd like to pursue PPPs for water provision.
I have heard that.
So, are you seeking a meeting with him to see how then the PPP can happen?
Turkana County will definitely be seeking leadership, will be seeking audience with His Excellency and raise these issues. I know the president has said that and he's told us and me in person because the aquifer sits in my constituency. But of course, we've not done anything. We'll give him the benefit of doubt for the time being. I think Eric and team, Odu mentioned of us legislating on ASAL programming so that they are in law, that food is available, water is available, Our schools are given special treatment in terms of food provision to schools. The school feeding program is one of those programs, but it is faltering. These days, the food doesn't go to schools regularly as it is required in the required quantities, So many programs that were there, that were put as interventions, are faltering, along the way, either because of fatigue, programming fatigue, or funding challenges. But I seek one thing. Political goodwill. Okay? All these decisions, all these pronouncements, if there is no political goodwill, they fizzle out. They are left to wither out. And that is, I think, what is affecting the ASALs. A little bit of lip service, and then we are made to feel happy because something is planned to be done, and it never gets done. Okay?
Something needs to happen.
So action must be done. Something must be done to show us that what is being planned for us is actually...
can be actualized.
Yeah.
If
equalization fund can be actualized, if Lotikipi aquifer can be drilled and this water gotten out, if the PPP program that will be pursued can be actualized, this story will end.
One of your leading leaders, Mheshimiwa, your namesake, Joseph Nonok, is now in State House. Okay? You have access.
He's in State House.
Not somewhere else. In State House.
Mheshimiwa Daniel, thank you very much for joining us. He's the MP for Turkana West. Keep it here. Conversations continue, 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Independent institutions must be respected in the execution of the mandate. The president was speaking when he met the Law Society of Kenya Council at State House, Nairobi. President Ruto asked LSK to work with the government in ensuring that the rule of law becomes the way of life in the country. The president accepted LSK's offer to help the government draft international trade treaties. He said this expertise will be crucial in defining the legal regime in public-private partnership, water purchase agreements, climate change and carbon dating. The LSK expressed their support for the president's firm position against extrajudicial killings and called for the setting up of a commission of inquiry. Now, pre-deployment training continues in earnest for Kenya Defence Forces troops preparing to serve under the African Transition Mission in Somalia, ATMIS. There will be a second Kenyan contingent to operate in Somalia on the ATMIS mandate. The training, which commenced in August, empowers the contingent with the requisite knowledge and skills for the peace support operation. It also provides an appreciation of current stabilization and humanitarian efforts, in addition to garnering awareness of the State of Operations and Security. KDF had previously operated in Somalia under AMISOM alongside Somali security forces for more than a decade in an effort to degrade Al-Shabaab militants and foster peace and security in the region. The peacekeeping mission was renamed ADMIS this year. Police in Madogo Station, Bangali Sub-County in Tana River County are investigating a case where a man's body was found floating on River Tana. The body was found floating at Adele 4 days later after he went missing. The deceased was allegedly killed by unknown people after he was caught trying to steal iron sheets at a farm. Speaking to the press at Bangali Police Station, OCPD Joseph Katuko said preliminary investigations into the case showed that the deceased was killed while trying to steal the iron sheets. OCPD said that police were still looking for the deceased accomplice, who is still at large. Madogo MCA Juma Ali Dido, while condemning the incident, urged the police to carry out thorough investigations in order to bring those behind the incident to book. And financial sector players have urged and agreed to support the government's affordable housing plan and other major infrastructure projects, including industrial parks, with a 500 billion shillings investment in the first year. The investment will progressively grow at a total of 1 trillion shillings in the fifth year. The deal, which was reached in a meeting chaired by President William Ruto, brings together the pensions industry, insurance firms, SACCOs, cooperatives and Islamic finance institutions. Referred to as the Sanduku Investment Initiative, its priority projects will include the Railway City Development, Nairobi International Financial Center, Kenani Leather Park and Makungeni Modern Suburb, among other public-private partnership projects. And the Kenya Union of Post-Primary Education Teachers Group has remained firm on its quest for the progressive phasing out of boarding schools in the country. Secretary General Akelo Misori, speaking during a CUPET annual general meeting in Machakos County, Machakos chapter, said teachers in boarding schools are more burdened as they have to play a double role in teaching and parenting. The Secretary General added that all efforts must be in place to ensure, in the end, all learners go home after school. Missouri has also urged the task force to put in place to review CBC to incorporate boarding schools burden to parents and teachers in their report, adding that tutors in boarding schools work for long hours and should be compensated. In our neighboring country, and Uganda has reported 9 more Ebola cases in the capital, Kampala, bringing the total number of known infections to 14 in the last 2 days. This is according to the country's health minister. The outbreak began in September in a rural part of central Uganda. It spread earlier this month to Kampala, a city of more than 1.6 million people, by a man who had come from the Kasanda district to seek medical treatment and later died. 7 of the 9 who tested positive are family members of the man who died and are from the Kampala neighborhood of Masanafu. Health Minister Jane Asing said another is a health worker who treated the man and his wife in a private clinic. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
All right, after 8 o'clock, and we're looking at traffic in different parts of the city. It's really heavy on Jogo Road. Whatever's happening on Langata Road is now spilling over to Lusaka, and they're going to join with Jogo Road at some point, and traffic is going to be heavy there. Lunga, also traffic spilling onto Likoni and touching on the interchange on Mombasa Road, heading out towards the southern bypass. So that's happening there. Langata Road down there is also pretty heavy, spilling over to Raila Odinga Way, and it's touching on Gong Road as well. So let's look in this whole area. Awings Kodek, Oloi Tok Road, Kingara. My goodness, it's just a mess here. James Gishuru, very, very heavy getting towards Wayaki Way, and you see some of that spill over onto the Red Hill Link Road. Okay, so that part of the city is really crazy. Coming out of Spring Valley and then touching on Limuru Road, Gigiri out towards United Nations Avenue, really busy. It's all going to come out and touch on Muthaiga Square, which is where the folks on Kiambu Road are trying to get to as well. Really heavy on the Thika Superhighway, so we're in the middle of traffic hour, bang on 8 o'clock. We'll see what happens in about half hour or so. But for now, keep your wits about. Let us know what's going on where you are. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
All right, it's 7 minutes after 8. Good morning and welcome to the third hour of the Situation Room today. We're live on KTN Home on SpiceFM. We're also live on YouTube and Facebook, SpiceFM KE. As we get into the third hour, just reminding you that you're paying rent. Yes, that's okay. But would you like to own a home? It's very, very possible. This is courtesy of the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company. To know about the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company, just go to kmrc.co.ke. kmrc.co.ke. Established by an Act of Parliament, the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company is owned by the government and 9 banks, 11 SACCOs. Also gets the support from the World Bank, the Africa Development Bank, and Shelter Freak, among others. So it has this kind of support. What they do is they refinance the banks and SACCOs to give you home loans. You go to your bank or to your SACCO and you say, I'd like a home loan for as low as whatever, but it's got to be below 10% interest rate, fixed for as long as 25 years. Rent yako, keja yako. City.
Yes.
The proverb from Ethiopia.
Yes. A leopard's eye is on the goat's eye is on the leaf.
A leopard's eye is on the goat. The goat's eye is on the leaf.
Yes.
Anne Makori is the chairperson of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. She's here with us in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting IPOA. We feel honored.
Kabisa. Before we get into talking about IPOA, this proverb, what's your interpretation of it when you hear it? It's from the people of Ethiopia. A leopard's eye is on the goat. The goat's eye is on the leaf.
My interpretation is that we focus on different things depending on what is important to one. The goat is looking at the leaf because it's the food, and the leopard is looking at the goat because it's the food. So they are both looking at their food.
Everybody's focused on their food. Good interpretation. Now, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority is established through an Act of Parliament and was published in November 2011. The job is to provide for civilian oversight over the work of the police in Kenya. The mission for the IPOA is to conduct independent and impartial investigations, inspections, audits, and monitoring of the National Police Service to enhance professionalism and discipline of the service. I got that right?
Yes, you did.
What else do you do?
We actually exist to hold the police to account in the performance of their constitutional and statutory obligations on behalf of the Kenyan people. That's why we are a civilian oversight mechanism that was established to ensure that the Kenyan people are represented in that regard. The other key responsibility of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority is to bridge the gap between the members of public and the policing. If you look at our historical foundations, IPOA was established as a result of deaths that occurred affecting civilians. Some of them at the hands of the police while on duty. That's the basis of IPOA. And therefore, the civilians or the members of the public of Kenya felt that they needed a civilian mechanism, an institution they could relate with that would safeguard their well-being, guarding public interest in policing. So if you look at that, the biggest, therefore, responsibility that the Kenyans placed on our shoulders as Independent Policing Oversight Authority is to safeguard their interests. There has been loss of confidence on the policing due to many incidences of excesses. And on one side, as we guard the public interest in policing, we also need to bridge that gap and rebuild public trust and confidence in policing, because internal security is critical to our well-being.
How do you relate between IPOA and the police service itself through the Police Service Commission?
IPOA is an oversight body. We oversight the work of the police. The National Police Service Commission takes care of the what you would call human resources, recruitment, discipline, those internal mechanisms, transfers, basically human resource capacity building. While IPOA, we oversight to ensure that the police work within the law, they comply within the law, and should there be excesses, then they are investigated. More particularly when you talk of deaths, serious injuries, and other atrocities arising out of police action. Kenyans felt police cannot be trusted to investigate themselves because of what we all know, the Blue Code of Sirens.
Yeah.
So because of that, IPOA was established to be that mechanism that then investigates independently, impartially, and supports the police in their endeavor to professionalize in compliance with Article 244 of the Constitution.
So why do they need the Internal Affairs Unit?
Internal Affairs Unit is an internal disciplinary mechanism. You'll find that in IPOA, we receive complaints from both the police and the civilians. We can also act on our own motion. Now, some of the complaints we receive from the civilians, we take them through an assessment process so that we know what kind of intervention to give to every complaint. You find that some complaints are easier and better resolved through an internal intervention. You'll find probably somebody has come and complained of inaction at the police station. They came, reported an incident, and the OCS and the team did not do much. So in such cases, it's easier, and the law allows us to do that, to talk to the OCS and compel them at that level to attend to the civilian. Some of the incidences are not grave to warrant, a full-fledged investigation. They can be dealt with through an internal mechanism. That's the work of internal affairs. Basically to deal with this small internal disciplinary issues. While the law allows us to take all of those, we can take disciplinary, criminal complaints. Some of them are easier sorted out on behalf of the civilian through an internal mechanism. That's the work of Internal Affairs Unit, really, in law.
If you were to do an oversight on performance or an oversight of impact, then of IPOA's role, how would you say IPOA has fared in its oversight over the police service for impact? Has that role been recognized by the police service, number one? Number two, would you say that as a result of the institution of IPOA, we have seen things getting better? Because there was something wrong, which is why IPOA was instituted. Over the years that it has been in operation, have we seen things getting better?
Thank you, Nundu, for that question. IPOA has done a lot of work that has benefited both civilians and the police. I'll give examples. For those who've been in this country longer, you remember a time when you could go to a police station and you find the vehicles have no fuel, there are no papers in the police station, and you try to report your case and you're told first and foremost the vehicle is not functioning. And where the vehicles were functioning, they were in a dilapidated state. And even where they were in dilapidated state, they had no fuel. And you could be asked to almost provide for everything. Now, as a result of IPOA recommendations, we have seen the leasing program for the motor vehicles. Today, police have decent vehicles that function. We have also pushed for fueling of those vehicles. every station commander has an allocation specifically for fuel. We have also pushed for authority to incur expenditure, that is some petty cash maintenance at the police station level. This ensures that when you need basic services at the police station, you'll find them. If you go to most of the police stations today, they have water, they have electricity, they have constructed new toilet facilities, even if it's outside. The police stations are generally cleaner. If you look at most of the police stations today, they have been freshly painted. It's the recommendation of IPOA to clean up the police station. When we do this, we do policy recommendations, and the government takes up this recommendation and funds these activities. And that's why the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government rolled out a competition for the cleanest police station. That is in implementation of IPOA recommendation. The armored vehicles of the police was as a result of IPOA recommendation, the housing policy that we saw being implemented, where the police stations are no longer basically staying in uni-huts, except where they have failed to demolish them. They have been given house allowances. And the house allowance aspect is important because it then achieves two things. One, decent housing for the police, and two, community policing when they live among the civilians. So if you were to enumerate and the one command structure, previously you could go to a county commander and you don't know whether it's the administration police commander, the criminal investigations commander, or the Kenya Police Commander who is responsible. And they could throw you here and there. Now we have one county commander. We call it one command structure where one person takes responsibility. We must have where we say this is where the accountability sits. And this is in line with Article 244, where police are supposed to work to ensure that they are more accountable, more transparent, more sensitive to human rights. So there was need for somebody to be held to account. And therefore that command structure, it was one of the most difficult things to have implemented, but has been implemented, and it creates a responsibility, command responsibility. So a lot of things that have benefited Kenyans, we continue working. Some are work in progress. We know police officers also face a lot of issues, psychological support. We made a recommendation for psycho-support mechanism, which has been adopted by National Police Service Commission, and which is being implemented to support their mental well-being.
Forgive me, Mr. Makori, but when I hear you saying this is some of the gains of IPOA, many of them sound like the work that should be done by the National Police Service Commission, because it's about the welfare of the police. If it's about their housing, about the cleanliness of their workplaces, about their own welfare, about getting medical support, that should be the work of the National Police Service Commission. What I was hoping to hear from you is how easy it is now for people to engage and interact with the police, how incidences of reported incidences of complaints against the police have reduced, or such. What is the progress in terms of the civilian oversight of a police service?
I'll tell you this. All those things I've mentioned are done by IPOA. And the reason we've done them is not because we went out to address housing. Our work is to look at the work environment. The Act places that responsibility on us. So as we interact and as we try to build public trust and confidence in policing, we interview, we have a fully fledged research function within IPOA, complete with a director. So we do a lot of work through research. And therefore we go out to find, why do we have shootings? Why do we have excesses? Why do we have anger within the service? And this anger then is reflected on the civilians. And when you interview both, then you learn they are unhappy because they are sharing a unit, two families staying in one single room divided by a sheet. So assuming a police, let's say as a man, woke up and left the wife in the unit, and in that unit there is another colleague, I mean, what do you expect? They'll vent their anger somewhere. So we end up now asking them, so how best do you think this issue can be resolved? It's them who said, get us proper housing arrangement. So that way then, we make a recommendation. And then the outcome is you have a happier police officer who is going out there and who is likely to listen to you as a civilian when you talk to them. All those things that I've mentioned, like authority to incur expenditure, is the members of the public who come and complain. I can't get service. Every time I go, I must get a paper, get a pen, get this. So we go to the police and ask them, why are you not able to provide this? So you see what we do, because we are supposed to ensure service delivery to citizens is enhanced. So we end up doing a lot of other things as we try to resolve the issues between the civilians and the police. And the net benefactor, therefore, is the civilian.
So whether it is the authority or the commission who is doing this, are we saying, and maybe you can give us those pointers, are we saying that there is a direct link between the needs that the police service have and then the ability for them to expend their duties in a manner that is still respectful of the citizenry? Is there a direct link between the two?
There is a
And can you show us how we've seen examples of that play out? Like if you see somebody move from a uni hut, as you've said, to accommodation that of course befits them and allows them to live in a humane manner, we can see then that as they expend their duties, whether they're on the beat or whether they are investigating something, that because they're at peace, they will do a better job as the service. Can we see that?
Yes, to answer you, yes, there is a direct link between their well-being and service delivery, a very direct link. You'll notice that today if you go to a police station, they will not complain when you need them to get to a scene of crime, for example. They'll jump into the car and move. And they are very proud of their vehicles. And therefore, when the police are able to respond immediately, then that's service delivery to Kenyans. The other day, I was listening to the report by Commission on National Integration and Cohesion Commission, the chairman, said before we went for elections, the confidence in police was at 68%. Now, after elections and how the whole election went, and we monitored thoroughly, I'm sure you're aware of that, we were everywhere, the confidence levels have moved to 80%. In terms of people trusting that the police can secure them in a democratic exercise. So that's how directly linked addressing the issues of police are to service delivery. And they do that because we push for many things when they are out there, their allowances, their meals, their transport. So when they go out and they are happier, they will not necessarily hit back on the civilians.
Okay.
They will be more calm. They will be more keen to listen. And you find that they live and laugh with you, which was very difficult to find in the past. And therefore, because we exist to ensure service delivery to Kenyans is enhanced. Therefore, when you have a happier person, it means they are less likely to shoot. We didn't have a single death during these elections arising out of police action. That was unique. And that reflects the well-being of the police.
Okay. Is these interventions and the progress that we are seeing across board, so we're looking at across the country, we've seen these improvements, right? The matter of extrajudicial killings, the matter of then police officers gone rogue, the matter of, not being brought to question when it comes to some of these cases, we cannot hide from that. Are we talking about a few bad apples spoiling the bunch, or are we talking about a systemic issue that perhaps IPOA's oversight cannot touch?
First of all, extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances, not all those deaths that, for example, reported yesterday or we've been reporting over time, are assigned essentially to the police. What we have said is that when we investigate, we see a trend. The way the bodies look, the way the injuries look, the way the bodies were handled, it shows a common perpetrator. And you can tell because these are facts. I mean, when you see 11 bodies, same injuries, tied with stones, thrown into a river, I mean, this is systemic. I wouldn't say that there are certain formations that IPOA should not touch. What sometimes lacks is, for example, now the reason we are able to move out and we know for sure we'll get cooperation because we've been experiencing a lot of non-cooperation is political goodwill. The position of the head of state, His Excellency, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is very supportive. We have taken note of his very strong stand. He said it during campaigns. He has actualized it as a president, that he will expand the independent space for the constitutional commissions. And therefore, it's the work we do is very sensitive. It's also very complicated. It experiences a lot of handles and challenges. Many instances of non-cooperation. We are dealing with armed people. Our officers are not armed. And therefore, we have to manage in a way that we also secure the lives of our employees. So there is no formation that where IPOA, the law allows us under Section 7 to call anybody to summon anybody to enter any place to get any document. But of course, sometimes implementing becomes a big challenge where entrance is sometimes...
well, the person that you're oversighting feels that they are above you and your oversight.
No.
The institution, not the individual persons.
The NPS?
Yes.
No.
So where does the lack of cooperation come from? In fact,
if you talk to most of the police, I wish you could interview a few. They think very badly of us. They think we go, because we investigate. We have very many cases in court, over 160. We have over 19 convictions, including capital sentence. It's a very dicey situation where we have to balance building public trust and confidence, taking action where the law has been disregarded, and recommendation for prosecutions and pushing through to ensure that prosecution is successful and justice is experienced by the affected citizens. So they think we are out to catch them doing wrong.
Okay. Let's continue that conversation after the break. It's 8:30. Anne Makori is the chairperson of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. She's here because we want to talk about extrajudicial killings and forced disappearances in Kenya. What's happening, what's IPOA been doing, what's IPOA planning to do as these conversations keep unfolding. Tell us about the room.
All right.
Room.com.
The room.com. So it's basically a room that you walk into and you will then be able to find people who've been trained in tech. It's people who have gone through the Africa Leadership Forum educational platform. They have all the expertise that you would need. So you throw away this whole need of interviewing 10,000 people. You can walk in and make a selection of people along the lines for which you want the job filled. Theroom.com, where you can go and find the expertise you need at once.
We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
London Mulo DJ Absolute. When the gang is together.
Got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers. Yeah?
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count.
If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you, I'd tune in to
Sugar and Spice only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So if you say it's on, then it's on. Yeah.
Sunny conditions through Nairobi, highs of 28 and lows of 17. Today it's 15 and sunny in Nakuru, highs of 28 and lows of 13. And we'll see lows of 16 in a rainy Nyeri, currently at 17, going to highs of 27. Eldoret is sunny at 16, highs of 25 and lows of 14. And it's raining in Mombasa at 26, highs of 30 and lows of 24. Malindi raining in some parts as well at 28, highs of 30 and lows of 25. And we're looking at sunny conditions in Kisumu at 23, highs of 31 and lows of 19. It's sunny as well in Kakamega at 23, highs of 30 and lows of 15. Sunny conditions in Kampala at 22, highs of 30, and we'll see highs of 30 as well in a rainy Dar es Salaam at 25. It's 18 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 27 and lows of 15. And rain showers now in Lagos at 25, going to highs of 30. It'll be highs of 31 in Kinshasa. It's mostly sunny now at 22. All right, traffic still continues heavy on Jogger Road, heavy on Langata Road, looking towards Rilo Dinga Way, getting towards Gong Road still continues. If you're coming out of Westlands, you're going to have to hold on and hold tight for some, because we're looking at Lamington, then going out towards Waiaki Way, and that's really heavy traffic still continuing. The Red Hill Link Road not proving to be too bad of an option, so you might want to think about that. Traffic on the Thika Superhighway for the last couple of days has been dissipating really quickly. We're now just seeing it past survey, so you should be all right as you're heading out towards the Pangani underpass. It's not looking too bad for now, getting towards Muthaiga Square on Kiambu Road. So that's done much better this morning. We're going to keep an eye on things. The Northern Bypass, hey, there's an option we haven't thought about in a while. Getting away from that drama that happens in the belly of Ruaka and then heading out towards Gigiri. Maybe that's an option to think about if you want to see the scenery of the city. Think about it. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's move. Talk to us there.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The conversation continues on Spice FM on KTN Home. Anne Makori, the chairperson of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, she's here with us. IPOA is the Civilian Oversight Authority for the police service, ensuring that the police do what they're supposed to do as per the law. And IPOA, according to the law, they are given the mandate to institute investigations and action at any point into any police officer, any police formation at any point. Madam Makori, allow me to twist the knife just a little bit. It's not going to be painful. But we have talked about, you release reports on extrajudicial killings, on enforced disappearances. Others also do the same, other civil society organizations. Families come out addressing the media, crying, their loved one has gone missing. Bodies start appearing on a River Yala. You've talked about the deputy president then, who's now the president, addressing the public and complaining about police excesses and him being cheered by the crowds wherever he went because people related with what he was saying. The Law Society of Kenya yesterday met with the president where they presented him a petition to institute a commission of inquiry into extrajudicial killings. All these things, Madam Makori, doesn't not indict IPOA and show that IPOA really has not done what it was supposed to do, now that we are even getting to a point where we are petitioning the president to form a commission of inquiry into extrajudicial killings, work that you should have been doing.
Thank you very much, Eric. The issue of commission of inquiry originally came from IPOA. When we looked at the number of bodies, the nature of injuries, the post-mortem reports, we were the first institution to talk about a public inquiry. And the law allows us to do that, so we were basing it on Section 24 of our Act. And we sought to engage with other stakeholders so that we can bring this to life. So basically what other institutions are riding on is something that originally came from IPOA. And statutorily, IPOA is the only mandated institution to oversight the work of the police. We've been working very closely with other stakeholders, civil society organizations, because Article 244 requires that the police respect human rights and fundamental freedoms. The space of human rights has many players. We have the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and you have all the civil society organizations that work within that space. We have very critical partners like IJM. We work closely with IMLU. And this is because this space is wide, is broad, it affects very many Kenyans. IPOA is a small institution as yet. We are only 250 employees, oversighting over 120,000 workforce of the police spread throughout the country. We are in 8 regions. We've been trying to get to the counties so that we can get closer to the people. Obviously, there are all the considerations, the budgetary considerations that we need, and the restrictions around what the government can do at any given time. So that's why it's necessary to work with the stakeholders. But ideally, IPOA was the first entity to talk about a public inquiry into the bodies in Yala.
What does that signify? Why do we need a public inquiry when you have a constant sitting IPOA? Does it show that there is a sudden running off the rails by the National Police, that suddenly we have issues that have just gone out of hand and IPOA is not able even to keep track of them? Or does it show that IPOA was maybe underfunded, undersupported to be able to catch up with this?
Underfunding is one thing. But the reason a public inquiry is important is even today, as all these institutions are speaking, nobody has assigned those deaths to a police officer. Otherwise, they will be arraigned in court. So the difficulties arising out of inability to say this was committed by a police officer, we can tell the threads look similar. The question is, so who are these? A public inquiry would help us identify that. Even today as we speak, nobody has taken any police officer to court over deaths in Riviera. And that's the same challenge IPOA is facing. We know there are deaths, we can tell the threads, but we are not able to pinpoint as of now because we need to do more work to establish whether it was actually done by the police. So it's not been assigned specifically to an officer because criminality is individual culpability. We can't say the entire of NPS is criminal. There are individuals in there. You need to identify them. Say who committed this murder and arraign them in court, because you cannot take the whole of NPS to court and say the whole of NPS committed murder. And that's the challenge. That's what public inquiry would help us identify. Is it the police? If it's the police, is it a special formation? If it's the special formation, then we narrow down to the specific individuals or formation that may have been involved.
Let me ask you this question, madam.
Yes, Mr. Muga.
You said you have a research unit.
Yes, we do.
Okay. We have a police force, I'm using the word force, that started off as a force, has metamorphosized into a service.
Yes.
In your research, have you distinctly pinpointed and documented the process of changes that the training and then the expectation from this particular service has been over the years? Training from the very beginning, which was distinctly and deliberately purposed, trained to do this. For instance, make sure that Africans don't raise their heads and they don't play around with the colonial government. How much of that has changed in terms of the police service now understanding their roles? One, in terms of what is expected of them by law and what the practice actually is and how that differs from what is in the law, and whether, as we say, the conversation is that they are the perpetrators. But I'm of the view that perhaps they are the victims and not necessarily not the perpetrators we refer them to be.
Let me start from the training. Our research work has actually established that the biggest challenge we've had in police reforms is the training. We changed the laws, but we did not change the training. So as a result of that, we've made recommendations and they've been adopted to change the curriculum. And the current commandant, the incoming IG, Engineer Japheth Kome, who has been the commandant at Kiganjo, has implemented the new curriculum. And what he has done is he has retrained a lot of officers and invited a host of facilitators, which was unlike before. Previously, they were only trained by the police, the bosses. Right now, we have civil society groupings coming in. Personally, I've facilitated a lot of trainings. First, to all the commanders, when they still had the training in Roresho. I trained all the commanders. And I was not alone. There were several civilian facilitators, which was a new thing. I've personally gone to Kiganjo several times at the invitation of the commandant and trained the officers. And while there, I've met other facilitators as civilians. So that in itself has started changing. Our officers have trained a lot of officers at Bakassi campuses, and that is new. So adopting those approaches to capacity building and even retraining the existing, particularly at the level of promotion, is expected that gradually. Of course, a culture that is entrenched takes time. So it's a journey. It's a journey, but I'm happy to see that some steps, positive steps, are being taken towards that journey and towards that recommendation. In terms of, they are probably not the perpetrators, but the victims. It's a likelihood. That's why we need to do investigations, and very thorough investigations, so that where there is need to exonerate, we exonerate. We've done that in the past. They've been accused of atrocities. We go in, investigate, and find that the officers acted within the law. Because the law, if you look at 6th schedule, Rule 62, there is provision for use of force. There are circumstances under which police can use force and firearm. But we cannot lose sight of the cardinal responsibility of the service, protection of human rights, irrespective of whether it's the police officers who committed these atrocities. My position is, this is Kenya. If you're not the one, why didn't you protect Kenyans? You exist to protect lives of Kenyans. So how did these Kenyans die if you're on duty?
You know, my discussion is on a broader level. There are those who would argue I'm actually talking about nature versus nurture. But if the ecosystem in which you are brought up is one which is oppressive by its very nature, what do you think the outcome is going to be? That is where the victim perspective comes in, because you are looking at an outcome and you're judging the outcome, and you are not looking at all the other facilitating indicators that bring this outcome about. Because how do you expect to give someone the responsibilities that the police service have, and you don't adequately facilitate them in terms of the resources that enable them to live a normal life like everybody else whom they're supposed to protect? How do you expect these same people to conduct themselves in a manner that you expect, again, responsibility, and yet what you pay them, the remuneration, doesn't reflect the responsibility that you have given them? And then you go and arm them. What do you think is going to happen?
I disagree with you on that one, Mr. Muga.
I would like you to disagree with me.
Because if your remuneration is considered inadequate, that's not excuse for you to go out there and
to
fail
abuse
to
your
do
office.
your work. Abuse your office, yes.
Well, that's
Abuse
the
your
theory.
office.
That's the theory, madam. The reality?
If they are acting under a command, as I guess you've tried to propose.
I've said an ecosystem, because it isn't just one thing. It's an ecosystem that exists.
The law is very clear. Rule 51, subsection 2 of their own act, 6th schedule, Rule 52, subsection 51, subsection 2, protects them from obeying unlawful commands.
How does that work out for...
It works out. We have people who have been victimized. They've come to IPOA. We've taken up the matters. They've been reinstated. They've been promoted. Some of them, if I were to mention names here, very senior officers, they had been interdicted. So it works for them. Why don't you use...
Does it work for all of them?
For all of them. If they come to IPOA, it works for all of them.
You see, I do not know the details of how successful IPOA is. You are now informing me. But if I look at, anecdotally speaking, the outcome of what I see is the action of members of the police service, I would say that what you're saying represents a small minority. Because I cannot say that the circumstance and the ecosystem within which the police service exists is the most favorable, again, for the people who serve in it and for the tasks and responsibilities assigned to them. That is my position.
So you're looking at their pay.
I'm looking at what they're paying.
Their working conditions.
Their working conditions.
The number of hours that they work.
The work, yes.
The living conditions.
Yes.
And all those.
Yes.
And then you're saying that you've given this person
I don't stop
a gun.
there. I don't stop there. Before I give them the gun, I'm talking about, when I say ecosystem, I'm looking at the reality of how they work, who they work with, how they work, what they're expected to do.
They're facing criminals on a daily basis.
And they're facing orders. They're facing everything that is adverse is brought at their doorstep.
But City, where does the issue of discipline come in? Remember, we've talked to some generals here and they tell you, one of the things that happens to you when you get into that training school, the first thing is they strip the civilian from you and they instill a disciplined human being in you. And this is how you operate. This is you. If you're told go straight, you go straight. You do not think, but you see the sun is rising and it looks beautiful.
The military is like a lab experiment. They're in the barracks. The police work with civilians.
But they also discipline forces. Are you saying that discipline is different?
Yeah, the influence is different because people in the barracks don't interact with civilians on a daily basis. The police do. So they are amenable to the influences that's in civilian life. They are far more amenable to it because they are exposed to it on a daily basis.
The police are trained to live within civilians. They are disciplined service, trained to live within civilians. While we agree there is need to look at their pay, and that is an issue we've spoken into as IPOA and made recommendation that it's an issue that needs to be looked at. There are many Kenyans who do not even have that kind of an income. Are we saying then that we allow them to become criminals?
They are not police. If you want, it is... Why don't I expand the argument to say teachers? By the way, this is a favorite argument of mine. So you've jumped right into it. You expect teachers to work as though they are the parents of the students, in loco parentis, as we say. Now, again, the same argument. You look at professions where such responsibilities exist, and at the end of the day, the reward is not just the joy of having people learn, but if you are unable to live a decent life yourself, that job stops being a joy, it starts being a pain. That is really what I'm saying. Just reality check. It's a simple reality check. Somebody has to be happy with what they do, and they must feel it is worth it. And I'm saying that ecosystem doesn't produce that. That's really what I'm saying.
My position is still the same, that they have an obligation to secure lives. Mm-hmm. They have the obligation to ensure Kenyans are safe. If there are other grievances, there are channels of raising those grievances. I also agree there is a lot of work that we need to do as a country. As IPOA, one of the things we have endeavored to do is reach out, do more outreach, engage more with them, educate them more, hear what their issues are. Where we've been able to reach out, we've addressed to the best of our ability the concerns. So everybody has challenges in their work environment. I'm not sure everybody has everything they want in the work environment. It's work in progress. Something is happening. Their housing has been addressed. Their work environment, their offices are cleaner. Their tooling and equipments are better. The salary may not be what they want. I'm not sure any one of us gets what we think we are worth. It's work in progress. So I don't think that's an excuse. We should agree, yes, there is a work to be done, but work on it jointly, collaboratively, and cooperatively, and keep addressing these issues. That is not excuse for criminal activities. I still hold the view that they have an obligation to secure Kenyans. If you reach a point where you feel you can no longer protect Kenyans, you have an option.
Those that you've interacted with, those that IPOA has interacted with over time, do they also feel the same way? Because I would say that there would be a dent in operations if those over whom you're going to oversight are in any kind of rebellion to IPOA's institution. The likelihood that they would say, okay, well, let's act better just because IPOA is there, unless they buy into the idea, then is very slim. Do you see that there is an acceptance in terms of attitude? Because I guess that's where it matters.
There is increasingly change of attitude. One of the greatest opposers of IPOA is actually the incoming IG, Japhet Kome. He has since changed. And he's now one of the champions for IPOA. He has understood the role of IPOA. That's why he's inviting us and saying, now I know there is a place for IPOA to train, to capacity build, to engage, to reach out and explain the mandate of IPOA. There are good things that have come from the work of IPOA. We've converted a number of them. Actually, majority of them today are not as hostile. Today, if I encounter a police officer. When I was appointed, I encountered police officers, and they were very hostile. In fact, one of them had the new chair of IPOA, and they commanded me to park on the roadside today.
Open the gates.
No, to park on the roadside.
Today they open the gate for you.
Today they'll open the gate. Yeah, today they'll open the gate and see, we know you take us to court, but you're also fighting for our well-being. And we agree that within you, we cannot allow the bad apples within you to destroy the entire image of the service. 99.9% of the service is good. And therefore, we must protect that and build on that as we deal with the 0.1% of the rotten apples. And they understand that. And we have engaged and we have agreed we have a job to do. And this job is anchored on the Constitution. Kenyans spoke, said you must become professional. If you act in a manner that is unprofessional, be sure we'll have conversation. If you use excessive force, the law is very clear. Please note, we shall take action. If you abuse or disregard the human rights and fundamental freedoms of Kenyans, certainly you'll become our visitor. We'll summon you and we'll take action. And they know that. And we are not budging on that one. And no salary issue, no housing issue can allow us to, step back on that mandate. That's why we exist. That's why you civilians put us in office, to ensure that we guard your interests in policing, so that we can increasingly have a safer, secure environment where the civilians respect the police and the police are able to do their work in a better environment, service, citizen-centric service.
As we conclude then, Madam Makori, address the current issues. Number one, there is, of course, what's on the headlines. This about the mistaken identity shooting of the Pakistani journalist. And number two, there is the issue of the missing Indian nationals who disappeared under the hands, supposedly, of police. What are you doing?
First of all, my condolences to the Pakistani people, the Pakistani government, and the family of that journalist. We are saddened by that death. We, as I believe, one death is too much. We got on the ground immediately yesterday, got the scene secured, attended the post-mortem. The body was to be flown out of the country this morning. We are progressing. Because it's an active investigation, I would rather kindly ask you not to allow me to give the details, but we are making very good progress and moving very quickly. And we believe soon we shall be able to give at least a preliminary update of where we are at. On the two Indians, our officers got to the ground, but they were not able, of course, due to need for security and other things, they were not able to get into the forest. But even as internal affairs tries to take up that matter, the law allows us to audit and keep track of every investigation that is done by that unit. We can call the file anytime if we feel things are not going right. But that does not mean that we have given up investigations ourselves. We are on it. And we believe very soon there will be breakthrough. So as IPOA, we are committed to ensure that we do what we need to do to ensure justice is served on the victims of any suspected police killing.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. Anne Makori is the chairperson of the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. The conversation continues in the next hour. We have somebody from the Independent Medical Legal Unit talking about the effect of disbanding the Special Service Unit of the DCI. So what happens next? Does it really matter? Thank you, Madam Anne, for joining us. And karibu sana soon.
Thank you.
It's 9 a.m.
The leaders observed that despite numerous campaigns to ensure people with disabilities are properly taken care of and that proper legislations are implemented to safeguard their rights, majority of them are neglected and mishandled. Led by Ndaragwa Member of Parliament George Gashagwa, MCA Joyce Munywa nominated and Milka Wanjiru from Kirita Ward, they called for inclusion of people with disabilities in key decision-making organs in both the government and private sector in order to help address the challenges they face on a daily basis. They spoke to Nyonjoro village in Ndaragwa constituency during the launch of Joyce Munywa Foundation, which aims to supporting people with disabilities in the region with walking devices and wheelchairs, courtesy of the nominated MCA representing disabled persons at the Nyandarua County Assembly. Now, police in Mwingi, Kitui County have arrested a colleague who is said to have stabbed a school bazaar in a row over school fees. Mwingi Central OCPD Peter Mutuma said Haji Boru went to Mwingi Boys Secondary School where his son studied and claimed a cash refund of extra money that had been paid through the Constituency Development Fund. Chaos broke after the bazaar identified as Alex Mwanzi informed Mr. Boru that the money could only be transferred to his son's college fees account. The officer reportedly forked out a knife and stabbed the accounts controller near his left armpit. He is currently admitted at a local private hospital as he waits to record a police statement. Boru is meanwhile held at the Mwingi police station awaiting arraignment. And Britain's incoming Prime Minister Rishi Sunak vowed to bring stability and unity at a time of economic crisis after he was named the beleaguered Conservatives' new leader. Sunak, a 42-year-old and a Hindu, will be the UK's first Prime Minister of colour following the implosion of Liz Truss's premiership after just 44 days. Truss will hold a final cabinet meeting today before submitting a resignation to King Charles III, who will then appoint Sunak as Prime Minister. The new leader will make his first remarks to the nation from outside number 10. Sunak prevailed after Penny Mordaunt, the last rival left in the party's leadership race after Boris Johnson dramatically dropped out, failed to secure enough nominations from fellow Tory MPs. Both Mordaunt and Truss pledged their full support. However, there was public silence from Johnson even as Sunak urged his warring party to unite or die, according to Tory MPs present in the closed-door meeting. Addressing the public for the first time, the new leader said Britain faced a profound economic challenge. And Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has pardoned a former parliamentarian, lawyer and key activist from the 2011 revolt who has been in jail for the past 3 years. Zaid el-Alimi, arrested in June 2019 on charges of fomenting unrest against the state, was sentenced to in prison in March 2020 for spreading false news after an interview with BBC. Ikram el-Alimi, the activist's mother, confirmed in a Facebook post that he had been released and wished the same for all the prisoners of conscience in Egypt. El-Alimi is the latest in a string of prisoners to have been pardoned, with his release ordered as Egypt readies to host the United Nations COP27 climate summit next month. And 2 students were injured in a school shooting at Central Visual and Performing Arts High School in St. Louis, according to a tweet from the district and police report. Their suspect is in custody. The post says the shooter was quickly stopped by police inside the school. The district is reporting that two students were injured and have been taken to hospital. The high school is a magnet school about 6 miles southwest of the city's downtown. Students were evacuated from the campus and taken to safe and secure sites. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, traffic continues in most parts of the city this morning. Lunga Lunga has built up quite considerably and it's getting out towards Likoni. So we've got some traffic on that Likoni road touching on the southern bypass at the interchange. All right, now is when Landis Road has got the memo because in and outbound traffic is a thing. It's looking much better on Langata Road, but then Aerodrome touching on Uhuru Highway out to the city and then going towards Haile Selassie has built up quite some. It hasn't let up on Raila Odinga Way, and we are seeing traffic also on Gong Road, still pretty heavy. Off the Thika Superhighway, it had finished, then it's back. I don't know what's going on. Kiambu Road also had given the idea that traffic was over, but it's back and it's bumper to bumper, in and outbound. It's coming out of Westlands, hot and heavy. It's also doing the same thing coming off of James Gishuru out towards Wayaki Way. So we're still in traffic out. Let's see what happens in about half hour or so. Let us know. I know there was a terrible accident coming off of the Thika Superhighway then towards Pangani. So let's be careful, shall we? SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there as we keep things moving.
9:07. How you doing? Good morning. Are you aware of kmrc.co.ke? Have you gone and checked it out? You should, because if you go and check out kmrc.co.ke and, for example, you bank with KCB or you bank with ABSA or you bank with Cooperative Bank or Diamond Trust Bank, or you're a member of any of the following SACCOs: Harambee Sacco, Imarika Sacco, Imarisha Sacco, Kenya Police Sacco, Mwalimu National Sacco, Safaricom Sacco, Stima Sacco, Tower Sacco, Ukulima Sacco, Uniters. Which other Sacco have I missed out? Have I said Stima Sacco?
Yes, you have.
Have I?
Yes, you can repeat
You can say it again. For
Harambee Sacco, have I said? And Bingwa Sacco. If you remember of any of those Saccos, just walk into them and tell them, nataka ile deal ya KMRC. All right? Owning a home. They will most likely give you this product by KMRC, which is owning a home for below 10% interest rate for as long as 25 years. So they give you the money, then they go and ask KMRC, leta your pesa. KMRC refinances them. You don't go to KMRC to ask for the loan. You go to the bank or SACCO to ask for the loan. For more details, kmrc.co.ke. Rentiako Kejayako. We have a guest from the Independent Medical Legal Unit. Before we welcome him, CT has the day's proverb.
Yes. From Ethiopia. A leopard's eye is on the goat. The goat's eye is on the leaf.
Focus. Attention.
Yes. Interest.
Yeah. And each is looking at
Stomach.
It's stomach issues.
It is.
What if we were
unfortunate for the leaf and the goat?
Mm-hmm. You know, the leaf has one benefit. It has many relatives. It's never singular.
So it'll be buried?
No. It'll replenish.
It's gone.
That particular one may be gone, but another will grow in its place.
Yeah.
Goat, another one will not grow in its place.
Can argue the same about the goat. Oh, it has many kids.
Literally.
True.
They will grow. Nothing. That particular goat is in danger.
But the family?
It's not the point.
The point is?
The goat. We are 7 billion of us. You die, you're alone, my friend.
Leopard?
Leopard has no one who's looking. Has no one, nobody's eye. Nobody's eyes on the leopard.
The zookeeper.
The trophy hunter.
The trophy hunter.
Okay. Livingston Nyando is a program officer at the Independent Medical Legal Unit in charge of advocacy and security sector reforms. Good morning, Livingston.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Welcome to the hot seat.
Yeah.
You've just seen the chairperson of IPOA.
Yeah.
Yes. And the work that they've been doing, that's what we're asking her. What have you people been doing when people are being killed left, right, and center?
The same question you're asking them as a civil society organization, because they were put in place by the Constitution when we voted for it during the promulgation in 2010, and then we created these independent commissions so that they can assist us, they can do an oversight of the exercise of the police. But now that's the challenge. We still have a lot of extrajudicial killings, and the statistics are worrying. Like the first 3 quarters, from January to end of September, we have recorded 179 cases of police torture. Out of those, 65 have been killed. 65 have been killed. They've lost lives. And these are just not statistics. They are their lives lost. Their husbands, their fathers, their brothers of people, their sisters who've been killed extrajudicially, outside law. And we are finding it very difficult as a country to move on and say all is okay because they've killed us. Like yesterday, the case that happened of the Pakistani journalist, for instance, still very, very raw in our mind. Like after being killed, the police just says it's a mistaken identity, which means they're not even remorseful. It's a mistaken identity. So if they got the right person they could have killed, they could be okay. But that's why do you kill people outside the law? Why don't you arrest them? and take them to court. So those are questions we are asking, hard questions we are asking. Because if you allow the police to be the investigator, the prosecutor, the judge, and the executioner, so what's the role of the courts, the office of the ODPP, the prison? What are their role? Then it means we need to do away with all other institutions and just allow the police to be. So those are hard questions we are asking.
I'm looking at these numbers that you talk about between January and September 2022.
Yes, exactly.
We're not even talking about years gone by.
Yeah, last year was 210.
Right. So this is 179, you said?
Yeah, 179.
So 179. All of these cases are police related?
Of course.
So we're talking about torture, 65 of them resulting in death, and each and every one of them can be pointed to have some kind of police participation, if I can call it that.
Yes, and that's only those that we've recorded, those that have come to us. So that means there are more cases that we're not able to record. There are places that we are not able to reach. So once, so it pains. Like when you see a mother coming to your office and telling you how the son was shot on a cold blood. How a mother comes and says the husband, who is the breadwinner, was killed. How a child cries for the father.
Yeah.
You know, those are kind of when it reaches there, then it's no longer statistics; it's lives lost.
Okay.
And we commend the president for disbanding that unit because he has actually acknowledged that this was a government policy. Then that means they had set up a whole unit to execute people, and that comes from confession of the head of state, who was a deputy president. So that means he knows these things have been happening. And we commend him for that.
Can I take a few steps back before we get to, obviously this is a conversation that is in the public. But let's just go back to this 179 before we even start going about new things that have come up since this.
Yes.
So 179, we're still on that number.
Yeah.
And if we know unequivocally, like you said with such conviction now, that each of these cases include the action of a police officer at whatever level, whether it's the torture or then the murder of these individuals. Is this evidence-based? Is this fact-based? It's clear what has happened. And I ask that question because if that is so, why then do we not see the prosecution of these cases?
Yeah, that's the big question, because what we do as independent medical legal unit, because we have a whole system that provides holistic support to the victims and survivors of torture. So the first thing, we have a full department that provides medical department that ensures that we follow these cases, we document them. We have a medical report, we have a group of pathologists, a network of pathologists that pick the evidence, that do what you call post-mortem, autopsy to these dead bodies, and then come up with a report, full report that is clear on what has killed that person. We have lawyers in place. We have criminologists that also do investigations and have this information. And we have cases that we've taken to court. Yeah, once we have a full proof, we take them to court. And the ones that we've taken to court, then the ones that have been awarded by the court, they're yet, the court have awarded them, but they're yet to receive this amount. So we have this case, and every case we take, and we have also a group of lawyers that are doing this pro bono also, hundreds of lawyers that are also willing to also support this, then they're doing that. So we have cases in court that we've taken, and each and every one we always take to court. And some of them are lying there, some of them are taking time to be decided. So all of them are evidence-based, because we don't just take a case that is not evidence-based. We just don't document when we say we don't have it, because we receive more cases, but the ones that don't meet our threshold, then we discard them, or we do referral to other institutions that are concerned. But this 179, this year, the first 3 months, actually we still have cases going on for this month that we've not also talked about. So what we are saying is that we need an end to extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearance.
When you go to court as IMLU,
yes.
Is this in criminal court or in civil court?
This is what happens. If for a case that all cases of criminality, the role is for the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions. All criminal cases. Civil cases, anybody can take them to court. Any lawyer can take them to court. So when you look at those criminal cases, we go through the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, because they're criminal in nature. And once we clear with criminal case in nature, then we go for compensation or reparation of this victim, that becomes a civil case. When you want to support this victim, that becomes a civil case, that we sue the state, the government, so that they can provide reparations to these victims of torture.
So IMLU receives a complaint.
Yeah.
IMLU conducts investigations.
Yeah.
Then IMLU forwards a file to the DPP with a petition to institute criminal proceedings against specific police officers. Are there cases where you've gone to the DPP and the DPP tells you I have a similar file from IPOA?
That's okay, they do that. And also there are also cases that have been taken by us and by IPOA that the DPP has withdrawn from the court.
On what grounds?
We have a case that, for instance, we have a case during during the corona, when the corona was high in 2000.
2020.
2020. A family in Busia was attacked, the entire family, with a whole lot of a police station. And IPOA had recommended 15 officers to be charged. And then the ODPP in February withdrew that case. In February last year, they withdrew that case. What does that mean? It means that their reason was that we could not surcharge the entire police station. But still, here, a crime was committed.
Did you have evidence against it?
We did have evidence. That's why it was presented. The ODPP presented it. There was evidence that was presented, and then their take was that they could not charge the entire police station. And the case was withdrawn. So we also have cases that are being withdrawn by the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. So our idea is that the Office of Public Prosecutions should also up their game. They should also ensure that they just don't withdraw cases. They just don't withdraw cases. Because once you do that, justice is not being found. It demoralizes the people who are collecting this evidence. It kills the morale of the people, and it goes against the law and the constitutionality of the country.
Livingston, the Special Service Unit that was disbanded after the orders from the President was established to replace another one. A special, it was called
the Flying Squad, and before that we had the Kwekwe Squad.
Squad and the Special Crimes
the Special Crime
Unit. So there is always a specialized elite squad within the DCI and within the police service that deals with these special crimes. It's a rapid deployment unit. They're well-resourced. They're able to they know that if you're called, you have a job to do and you do it very fast. What's the justification for having these units?
I wouldn't tell. They're supposed to tell us, because those units that they have...
You've engaged the DCI and the police.
Yes, this is it. This is it. You know, like the SSU, and we want the SSU to be the last unit that what the president himself calls the killer squads, that is going to be there in the place. So we don't want a reincarnation of these groups or rebranding of this name. That's why you are against what you call they're being re-employed again. Our take as police reforms working group and as a civil society organization that are working towards police reforms, our take is to ensure that the officers are investigated and those found culpable should be prosecuted.
But is there no place for specialized units?
Specialized to do what? To kill people?
Not to kill people. For rapid deployment.
Rapid deployment.
Where we have SWAT in other places, where we have all these other units in other police the services.
We have special forces, the GSU, they can create that. As long as they work within the confines of the Constitution and the law, then we don't have a problem. But when they go out to kill arbitrarily and to kill people after the law, then that's where we have an issue. They can create as many special units as possible. But as long as they work within the law, the framework of the law, then that's okay.
Let me ask you this question. It seems as though this special unit, once they are formed, acquire a life of their own, and they simply just do what they see fit. They choose who to kill or who not to kill. And they, like other police officers who take orders from people, don't they have people who instruct them on what to do?
And the reason that we've been calling for independence of the police, you know, for many years, ever since when we developed this constitution, we had envisioned an independent police unit away from the political interference. And that's why we gave the IG independence of the command. But the regimes and the successive regimes have refused. ever since when this constitution came to life in 2010, have refused to give that independence to the police. And one of the reasons they refused to give the independence of the police is they refuse with the budget. Just recently, the president announced that they are going to hand over the budget, the role of being the IGP to be an accounting officer of the police budget. But for many years, the budget was being run from the Ministry of Interior. So the CS in the Interior Ministry, then Kibicho, or currently still Kibicho, who was the accounting officer. PS. So the PS of the Ministry of Interior. So that means if the IG wants even a cup of tea in his office, or wants he has to go to the ministry, to the PS and request and do like what you call an imprest for them to get this amount. So he didn't have this authority to incur expenses. So that was one thing. And then they were not given, and then the political, what you call regime police, the political arm of the government always wants to have the police as their tool to, I don't know, to harass and cause mayhem and to prove that they are in power, in authority. And that's always been the case. But what we are saying, if we follow the constitution and ensure that this office is independent, then the IWIC is easy to hold the IG accountable. But when when you have the IWIC is easy to hold the IG accountable. But when you have a special unit that reports to politicians and reports to, say, the presidency, for instance, that does not report, that work outside the NPS Act, the Constitution, and the standing orders of the police, then we are in a failed state.
But the police are a disciplined force. I doubt if the ordinary officers within the police force ever even get to meet the PS or the minister or the director or whatever.
Unless they're attached to them.
I don't think. Yes, they report to the people whom they work with, the OCS, OCPD, and the like. Now, if they're taking instructions, I don't think they take direct instructions from the officers who are hired. They take instructions from the people who are the immediate officers.
And the immediate officers take instructions from who?
They take from their immediate officers.
And the immediate officers take from who? From the immediate officers.
There's a chain of command.
Yes. So,
and if it gets to a point where the cabinet secretary for the interior is also issuing command, that's okay.
And whoever pays the piper
calls the tune.
Calls the tune, exactly. So currently, and whoever appoints you, you report to that. Currently, I'll give you an example.
For instance, who does Parliament report to?
Parliament is supposed to report to the people, because the people are the people who have employed them.
Are they independent?
They're supposed to be an independent arm of the government. That's what the law envisions.
Do they look to you like they're independent? Do they behave as though they're independent?
And that's the problem with the parliamentarians, because they don't believe they're independent.
The point I'm getting at here, we are saying the police not independent. The Constitution has created independent institutions. Is it not?
Yeah, very true.
But, so is it the appointees who are a problem? Is it the appointing authority? Is it our culture of leadership? Because this isn't something that is peculiar to the police service.
Agree.
Go to the judiciary, you could argue the same.
Agree.
And these are independent institutions.
Very true.
Okay.
Very true. Because I've seen the case with the National Police Service Commission. You know, like the law allows them to actually be involved in the process of appointing of the IG. Article 246 sub-article 3 requires that any appointment, recruitment of a police service, a promotion, transfer, it is supposed to originate from the National Police Service Commission. But look at it now. We are in the process of appointing the IG, the next IG. As that happened, the president has just picked Japheth Koome and presented them to Parliament.
Well,
it could be argued.
There were laws that were amended. The Security Laws Amendment Act. Remember that?
I know that.
The outgoing IG of police was not recruited by the NPS.
Exactly.
No, he wasn't.
Right? It was basically
and
the president.
That was the legality too.
It's a law. It's there in law. Have you gone to court to challenge this particular law?
Went to court to challenge it?
And the courts agreed with you and said, this law is unconstitutional. Because as far as I'm concerned, the law is still in place.
We went to court and challenged it. The High Court, at the point of original jurisdiction of challenging any case of constitutionality.
Yes.
We did not get a favorable hearing. We appealed because that's what the law requires. So we are in the Court of Appeal. Currently, we've not been given a date since then.
So this matter has been in the Court of Appeal for how many years now?
Since 2014.
Oh, wow.
Why is it still in the Court of Appeal?
Now, that's your guess is as good as mine. What answer should I tell you? We are waiting for a date for the case to be argued.
2014.
Yeah.
It's 8 years ago.
You can, because that's when they brought what we call the Security Amendment Laws.
Yeah, the Security Laws Amendment Act was actually taken to Parliament.
What you are saying is
it
that
amended these things
exactly,
so the president can appoint.
Can I tell you something?
Inspector General.
Can I tell you something? The Constitution is the supreme law for land.
That's true.
And any act, any law has to confine the Constitution. Any law that contradicts the Constitution becomes null and void to the extent of that
so you're saying
inconsistency.
this act contradicts the Constitution?
It contradicts Article 246,
No, it
sub-Article
doesn't.
3.
According to what you got from the High Court, until the Court of Appeal reverses what you're saying, currently as it stands, the High Court told you it is not unconstitutional.
But do you know also?
So the president, basically the point is, President William Ruto is okay to appoint Engineer Japhet Koome and take that name to Parliament, and Parliament has now, I've seen there's an advert, the Parliament has announced that they want to vet the man and he'll be vetted. There's an ad in
have you read Article 246 of the Constitution, sub-Article 3? What does it say?
I have. It talks about independence.
What does
it
it
talks
say?
about the job of the National Police Service
I
Commission.
haven't read it, so please tell me.
The article talks of Ednah, the role of the National Police Service Commission. Their role is to recruit, their role is to promote, their role is to transfer, and their role is to promote any person holding the office of police service.
I shall read it for you,
that
City.
commission is in place.
And that commission is in place.
I shall read the Constitution for you, City.
246, sub-Article 3. Just read it the way it's written.
246,
sub-Article 3.
Sub-Article 3. 246 is about the National Police Service Commission.
Yeah.
There is established the National Police Service Commission.
Yes.
Sub-Article 2, the commission consists of the persons who are blah, blah.
Very good.
3, the commission shall recruit and appoint persons to hold or act in offices in the service, confirm appointments and determine promotions and transfers within the National Police Service. B, observing due process, exercise disciplinary control. C, perform any other functions prescribed by the national legislation.
So is it rocket science?
No, it's not.
So what does that mean?
It says that they are the ones who do those things and to taking people to Kiganja.
Anybody holding.
They're the ones who do the recruitment of people. Run. You're recruiting
anyone
the
holding that position. Anyone holding a position in police service. If you want to transfer them, if you want to promote them, if you want to recruit them, then that's the role of the National Police Service, as per the Constitution. So and do you first agree that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land?
The police service must but there's no debate be responsible for recruiting.
It is. So any law that goes against this article becomes null and void to the extent of inconsistency.
You see, this is where my sister Nduhia wants to say something.
Sorry.
Let her say what she wants to say, then I will say what I wish to say.
No, I think if we're bouncing off the basic here, what we are saying is that according to the law, any recruitment that is done of the police service, it doesn't matter at what level, ought to be done by the police service. And so we are saying that these appointments that we are seeing, according to you, are against the law.
Not according to me, according to Article 246.
All right. According to the Constitution, are against the law.
It's not me. It's not me. People voted for this Constitution.
And
65% of the...
I would have agreed with you. In fact, I personally, I feel that way.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
The way David, the first IG?
The first IG was Kimayo.
Yeah, David Kimayo was appointed, was through this process.
Exactly. That was the only legally, constitutionally appointed
to me,
IG.
That is the way.
Yes.
Then Westgate happened. Then this whole issue of independence came up. And then because people were asking the president, now this is a person that you've given us as a boss, surely. What kind of... And the president had... felt that he had no levers. They took all these things, an omnibus of laws to amend things, and they called it the Security Laws Amendment Bill. It went, and they amended all these things. You and others went to court.
Yeah.
To the High Court.
Yeah.
The Constitutional Division of the High Court.
Yes.
The Constitutional Division of the High Court.
That's the original jurisdiction
said,
where you take the cases of
the Constitutional Division of the High Court said
that
it is not unconstitutional.
There were eight sections that were struck off.
But this particular case of recruitment was declared not unconstitutional.
Yes, true.
I am a law
by the High Court.
I am a law-abiding citizen. if the constitutional court, a competent court, has said it is not unconstitutional, I cannot have an argument whether it's constitutional or not. It's done.
If it's the Supreme Court, you don't have an argument because that's the highest.
As matters stand, until that is overturned, as matters stand, the president is acting according to the law. I'm not using the word constitution. The president is acting lawfully. Until you get that.
Will tell you that the supreme law is the constitution.
But the constitutional court, which is mandated to interpret the constitution on our behalf.
Has the court been wrong before?
They have, of course.
As cases been overturned before?
Of course they have. But until they're overturned, they stand.
Abiding by the law has very little to do with how we feel and how happy we are.
Yes.
It's just acknowledging that the individual or the individuals who are there determined it thus. Now, until we have a different ruling,
yes, true.
Unfortunately, that is the situation as it is. Yes.
So, we're looking at Article 246. Do you believe that it says it's okay?
So
it's fine.
If I was to look for Article 246, where would I find it?
It comes after 245. 247.
The way the law is implemented, you cannot pick one article and run with it. They complement each other.
Let's take a break. So breathe. 27 minutes to 10. This is the Situation Room. Livingston Nyando is a program officer at the Independent Medical Legal Unit. He's in charge of advocacy and security sector reforms. We are talking about the police service, the disbandment of the special service unit of the DCI, and maybe we are going to see another one being established very soon by, what's his name, Mohammed?
The new
DCI.
The new DCI. Yes. Mohammed Amin Ibrahim.
Yes. Let's take a break at that point. Remember, the room.com. Have you told Livingston about the room.com?
I was just about to before you reminded me. So the room is like, I know you're a side hustle. You want to, hire people and for this new swanky business that you've set up. But who wants to go through all the drama of, seeing 1,000 people, right? The room.com, really swanky folks who've been able to educate people, who've been able to train people. So you have the best of the best waiting for you in the room. All you need to do, knock on the door, they open, you go in and you say, this is the person I'm looking for. The person has been trained, they've been vetted and ready. So the selection is up to you.
Great.
It's really great. All you have to do is then get in there and get the best in tech talent around the world.
If you want a web developer, you get them there. If you want a cloud developer, you get them there.
So you get me the contacts.
They don't have constitution developers. Theroom.com. That's a contact that you need.
Good.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Congratulations. You've seen the hand of the Lord.
Thank you very much. I've earned another title today, this morning at SpiceFM. Mama Justice, I don't mind it.
Joel in Kericho.
Salama sana Heri, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama bwana, mambo namna gani?
Salama kabisa bro.
Mambo ya Inamoi kuliendaje?
Mambo ya Inamoi, vile nilikwambia ndugu yangu, alienda asubuhi na ile gari ya kwanza.
I must have missed it.
So did I.
Even if somebody was to render you irrelevant, there is still work you can do.
Okay, sawa.
I deserve to keep you accountable. You deserve to give me a report. You don't work for me. No, I don't work for you. You work for me.
Do you like that Freudian slip? Lovely, isn't it? Thank you very much.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
All right, so we're still looking at sunny conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 28 and lows of 17. It's sunny at 17 in Nakuru, highs of 28 and coming down to lows of 13. 16 will be the low in a sunny Nyeri at 20, and we'll see lows of 13 in sunny Eldoret, currently at 21. 27 and light rain in Mombasa, highs of 31 and lows of 24, and we'll see lows of 25 in a partly rainy Malindi. All right, Kisumu is sunny at 26, highs of 31 and lows of 19, and we'll see highs of 30 in Kakamega, where it's sunny at 27. Kampala is sunny at 24, highs of 31 and highs of 30 in a rainy Dar es Salaam at 26, and it's 20 and sunny in Johannesburg, good highs of 27 today. Rain showers at 25 in Lagos, highs of 30 and highs of 31 in a mostly cloudy Kinshasa at 23. It's 19 and sunny going into early evening Tuesday Tuesday in Beijing, highs of 20, and we'll see highs of 19 in Paris, where it's cloudy at 14. It's 12 degrees and cloudy in London, highs of 18, and New York is cloudy still Monday night coming into Tuesday. We'll see highs of 21 and lows of 16.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
Yeah! You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, the tick-tock of the clock says we're coming out of traffic hour, but there are some parts we're still dealing with the dregs of Tuesday traffic. Bagathi Way, Raila Odinga Way, touching on Gong Road, and also a little bit of Jogo Road here and there. It's much better on the Thika Superhighway, but Kiambu Road is still jostling for air, trying to get out towards Muthaiga Square. James Gishuru also, it's dwindling. We'll keep an eye on things, but traffic hour says we're done. We'll keep an eye on things through the morning. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
Yeah! You're listening to Spice FM.
Twenty-two to 10, the conversation continues with Livingston Nyanda from the Independent Medical Legal Unit. Livingston, IMLU, IPOA, LSK, and others are calling for a commission of inquiry. Into what?
Commission of inquiry onto all these atrocities, extrajudicial killings, this formation of these groups that have been there, these killer squads, so that we can able to discuss and know why they exist in the first place. We want even the members of those SSUs and those units, that formations, to come in and tell us who appointed them and why were they doing this. And even the appointers also should also come out and say, why do they need these special squads to be there in the first place? What kind of objectives do they serve to be there? We want the mothers of the victims, the fathers, the daughters, the children of those victims to come in and speak about the death of their loved ones. We want all those that were tortured, the survivors, to come and speak. We want the lawyers with evidence, the doctors who've done these postmortems, who are there to receive them, the ones that have treated them, to just come in and speak. We want the entire nation to speak, and so that everything might come out. This will act as a deterrent, we believe, from these cases. They will give recommendations on how to go about it. We want to see where we failed as a country, which kind of institutions are not functioning to warrant issues of extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. So that's the reason that we want a judicial commission
extrajudicial
inquiry into
extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. Now, for you to call it an extrajudicial killing, you'd have to place a law enforcement officer into it. And forced disappearance would also have to have a law enforcement officer into it. Now, do you think a commission of inquiry where the families of victims will say, all right, so we found our person killed and buried or dumped in a forest, in a river, somewhere. If they come out and say it, how does that bring in the law enforcement officers into it? How are we going to expose law enforcement officers by having this public inquiry?
Because we want to see the way forward. How are we going forward? People have to own up to the atrocities they've committed.
You expect the police to actually come out and say, you know what? We are SSU and we are the ones who killed this person?
If the highest person has come out and said the government has been doing this, the president, the highest office holder, he's said it not once, twice, declare that we've been having a killer squad in SSU.
Let me give you an example. Discipline forces on an inquiry into themselves, that they will be open about what is happening.
You know, I tell people and I tell the officers, the one that I meet, that evidence is stubborn, that you can never hide, that it will come out, and evidence speaks for itself. You can hide for many years, you can do it, but eventually it comes out. So what we believe is that some people are convicted not by accepting, they're convicted based on the evidence, because you might still refuse that you did not do it, but if the evidence points to you, then you get convicted. That's why we want this commission, so that people can adduce this evidence, people can feel free, so that we don't have the rigorous of the court's of laws. Because we've had convictions in the normal court of laws. We know the killers of Willie Kimani were convicted, but still the extrajudicial killings have never stopped. So our proposal, let's give it this one more time. Now that we have a window of opportunity and political goodwill from the president, let's give it time so that we see this Judicial Commission of Inquiry as a tool that will assist us to end once and for all cases of extrajudicial killings, so that we don't have anybody crying, so that each and every suspect has his day in court, because that's what you want, because there is due court of law. If you feel this person has committed atrocity, have committed a crime, then you have all the tools. In Kenya we have state-of-art forensic lab that they should make use of it. We have a government chemist with all the knowledge and all the expertise and with everything. We don't need to take the sample that we get from the crimes into South Africa. And these officers are trained. We have trained officers. We've trained them to Scotland.
So why not call for proper investigations that bring out the culprits?
The reason is impunity. And that's
because a public inquiry is... So there's a moment, of course, for the relatives to vent, to express themselves, to put human to the names of the people who have died, right? There's that moment and there's the importance of it. But in terms of now getting justice or getting to the bottom, the root cause of it, why not order proper investigations, whatever? If the president wants to form a special unit and says, I want you to go and you have access to all facilities within the police service, and ask questions to all these officers.
The investigation will be going on. We have IAU, Internal Affairs Unit. We have IPOA, the chair just left here. That they've been doing investigations, and there are people who've been convicted. But the pace of investigation and the number of convictions against the number of atrocities and the number of cases, there is a big disparity.
There's a huge one. And that's why Anne Makori was telling us that one of the challenges they have is that they cannot place a single police officer and link them to any of this. Yes, they can see there's a common pattern in terms of how these people have died, in terms of even where they're dumped. There's a common pattern that leads to, it comes from the same source. But in terms of identifying, so it's in Inspector Livingstone or Constable Eric, they have no clue. They cannot pin that. How do we get to that bottom?
That's why there is individual responsibility and there is command responsibility. If it happens within your watch, you take responsibility as a commander. And that is provided for. And that's what IPOA should also do. Should also look at it. If this happened under your watch, you are the commander. You are the one commanding this. For instance, if there is a demonstration, for instance, and there is a commander who commands them to throw tear gas, to shoot, for instance. If you can't place an officer that shot this person, but you ensure the police bullet was used, and they're not going to produce that person, then you prosecute the commander. And once we have that command responsibility coming in, there are people who will be careful on the kind of commands they give, the kind of orders they give to their subordinates.
Will they?
Yeah. If you are sure that the responsibility will lie with you.
No, I still think even with this discussion, we're not just scratching the surface. We're dealing with the symptom and not the problem. You know why? If you look at the issue that Ndu has just raised, it took my mind back to 1980 when an American sailor on a warship called USS La Salle, a gentleman by the name of Frank Sandstrom, in Mombasa, killed a young lady by the name of Monica Nyeri. Monica Nyeri was then 29 years old. 2 daughters, 11 and 4. If you do the maths, and if they're alive, one now would be 56, the other one would be 46 years old. Right?
Yeah, it's true.
Now, problem arises here. That particular case, the prosecutor was of British origin, judge British origin. That he was fined $70.
$70.
Yes. Bond and then good behavior. Man, the man hadn't even been in jail. What good behavior? The fellow hadn't even been in jail for a month. I don't know what good behavior was, but he was let off. The guy later died in a car accident when he went back to his home country in the United States. There was an outcry. What is it about the law and the way it is practiced so that the people it seems to harm the most are the most vulnerable, the people whom it's supposed to protect? In an earlier conversation, I was of the view that when we look at the police as perpetrators, I was arguing that the ecosystem within which our police, what you call service, exists, makes them victims. That is my argument.
Very true.
Because we keep saying they did this, and that I asked you, Do they wake up and make these decisions and command themselves, or are they given instructions? Are there expectations by others for them? Why don't we ask the question? And I'm asking the question, since I'm asking the question, those in authority who seem to deem it necessary for these units to be formed, in the absence of them deeming it necessary, the units would never be formed. In the absence of instructions being given, what we're seeing would never... The beginning of people being killed, it wouldn't start. Now, if they say they get out of control and then it's wild, it started somewhere. And I'm going at the very beginning. So until and unless we understand the thinking and the people who think that this thinking is necessary or justifiable, we'll have our laws. Matters will go to court like you took them to court. And they'll take the direction that these things take when they get to court. Because, yes, the extrajudicial killing. Yes, we need to get to the bottom of it. But looking at the consequences without asking ourselves what it is that brought it about. Latin America is dealing with such problems today. And it happened in 1960s to 1980s. To date, we're in a new century. They are dealing with these problems. Now, have they gotten the bottom of it? The answer is no. Because some of the people who are in charge of the perpetration are still alive and are still well. Some of the people who are involved in those things have even become presidents of some of their countries. So, you as civil society, when you look at these issues, how willing are you to actually say, fine, fingers are being pointed at the police. But are we willing to point the fingers in the direction where these instructions actually emanate from?
Exactly, and that's why we are when you call for judicial commission of inquiry, those are things that people will have to deliberate and interrogate during that commission of inquiry, because it becomes open for everybody to look at the root causes. And one of the, as we ask for police accountability, we also ask for police welfare, and that's also been a cause allegedly over these atrocities. When the police, the welfare, currently we're asking for more budget to the police officers. We're asking for more recruitment of number of police officers, because currently the ratio of police to wananchi, to the people, is 1 to 1,150. That's the ratio we have currently. The UN standards are asking for 1 to 400, at least 1 to 400, in the minimum, bare minimum. And then the ratio that we have of 1 to 1,150, we still don't give those police their, there's real police work. There are others that don't do real police work. Like a driver, we don't count that's real police work. Like those people who are
carrying handbags for Mweshimiwa.
Exactly. The personal assistant, the one who cook tea at the Vigilance House, for instance, the secretary at the Vigilance House. So the number reduces. The ratio actually goes higher when the bodyguards for Mweshimiwa, as you say, the one who take care of the state buildings, maybe guard the state buildings, the one who guard money on transit, for instance, embassies and all those kind of things, and the one that are hired by privates. You can hire a police officer. Yes, you can. And say you want 3 bodyguards of police officers, and you pay for that.
Yes.
For private purpose. So that number reduces still. And assuming that we still have the number of 1,150, because that's when I am counting until IG also in the 1,150. Assuming we still have them, and then can one police officer take care of 1,150 people? 24 hours, because that means it's supposed to be 24 hours. So that's one of the things. So we need increased number of police, so the police don't overwork. They do 12 hours, they do 14 hours, for instance.
We talked about overworking. I am of the view that it isn't overwork, it's traumatizing.
And traumatizing is caused by overworking also.
Yes, it is. Yes. But you see the net result, if you look at all the atrocities that we relate the police to, in my mind, you're talking about a force that is traumatized, and you're seeing the consequences of that trauma.
Yes, true.
It's being visited now on the public. That is my view.
Yes, true.
Attempts are being made, simply not enough.
I'll give you an example. Like last year, the National Police Service Commission actually did reduce the salary of graduate constables. Constable is the first rank, the lowest rank. So graduate police officers, their salary was slashed. because they said there are no other person like graduate. And in Kenya, we have 1,333 graduate constables. So people who are graduates but want to be police officers. So something to be celebrated, because if you have a graduate officers, like their reasoning is improved. They know how, they understand this, they're trained to understand issues. So
you are aware that you're being elitist here.
I'm giving you an example. What happened.
And I'm telling you, you're being elitist because you're assuming that just because someone has gone to university, that they think clearer than someone who hasn't.
Let me just. I didn't say that, but let me just finish my statement. My point was, these people, their salary were reduced. That means we don't care. The National Police Service Commission does not care about getting more knowledge. My take was, the more knowledgeable you are, the better police officer you become. So because these people you are supposed to be motivated to go and get this knowledge. And part of the motivation of getting this knowledge, it comes with your pack, for instance. And we know that. Today, if I know that there are so many things that motivate people,
you can afford
but money motivates also.
Yes.
Yeah, you know that. One of the motivating factors. So when you remove that,
one of a key motivating factor.
If today you're told you're going to get 3 times what you're being paid,
I will sleep on the job.
Exactly. That's the point. Yeah. So what you're saying, so these people, and it was 3 times the salary. So the salary will have to last 3 times. Because they're earning 3 times what they're earning. But this was revised a month ago, because they realized this was also a wrong move. Because how do you, doesn't this person get demoralized that I went to university and getting what I'm getting compared to what other people from my profession are getting?
It's very widespread. If you go to the prison services, you'll hear the same story. Yes, if you go to the military, it's changing in the military. But it was a story for the longest time.
Exactly.
Because, and again, historically, the disciplined forces was the preserve of people who didn't do too well in academics.
And that's wrong.
Well, historically,
you
that
want,
is what it was.
You want to get your best A student to be a police officer.
My friend, historically, it went that way. If you couldn't make it to the police, you became a P3 teacher. If you couldn't make it a P3 teacher, you went to some community college to learn to be a pastor.
So your police was used to be dumping where you dump?
Yes. And if you couldn't make it to the police, then you went to the army. Essentially, I'm going with the argument you had, a place where you didn't need to think too much. Okay? Where thinking might be a burden. So you just obey orders, not difficult. You're told, go that way, walk straight. I'm simply saying, there is a thinking that determined people who went into the disciplined forces. And the discussion we had with Madam Makori here points to the simple fact that thinking hasn't really gone away.
But the criminals are becoming sophisticated, so the police have to catch up. And part of catching up, you have to get the best criminologists to be.
They have caught up. That's why many of them are also criminals. Yes. So I
think that's part of catching up.
Look, it is catching up. If you expect someone to perform certain duties, and with every effort they make, they realize, man, we're not going to make it. What do? You figure, this one. Why don't I just join these people?
So those are things we need to discuss in Judicial Commission of Inquiry.
So I'm telling you, they're traumatized. When someone gets to the point where they reverse their roles and they become the very people they are supposed to actually not be, what does it tell you is becoming? What has become of them?
Yeah. I agree.
So,
go ahead. You're saying something. Go ahead.
No, I'm asking. So who then should be listening to these calls for this inquiry? Because we can argue back and forth on some of the issues and which are pertinent in their own right. But then the truth of the matter is that 170 people died. Right?
Yes, true, very true. Those are names of people.
Died or were disappeared, rather.
Yes.
Right? So if there's a call for a look into this and to say, how can we deal with that? Who's supposed to be hearing this call and say, okay.
Who forms a commission of inquiry?
Who puts it together? Who should say, okay, hold on a minute. Everybody's been shouting for the last 12 months. Okay, let's do this. Who's that? Who's that person?
The president is supposed to form a commission of inquiry.
The president,
yes. And now that is admitted that these things have been there, these units have been there, that's we are calling upon him to form the commission of judicial inquiry into these
He has
issues.
received that petition from the LSK.
Yes.
There's even a photo in the papers.
So we just hope.
And the LSK president and others receiving the petition to form a commission of inquiry.
Yes.
But I'll remind you, just the other day, Mwai Kibaki formed a commission of inquiry appointed a former, what was it called, police commissioner called Shadrach Kiruki to look into those issues of the Atur brothers. They sat publicly. What do you know about it? Commission of Inquiry.
But can I tell you?
It's the best way to cover things up.
Can I tell you? You know, like Philip Ramsey Commission of Inquiry. Then
Ramsey Commission.
It's the one that came up with these recommendations, the reform that you have, the independence of the police.
It was supported by the fact that we were rewriting our constitution.
Yes.
Were it not for that fact that we were redoing our constitution at that point?
Commissions of inquiry are where justice goes to die.
They've assisted. There are some that their recommendations have been implemented. So, you know, like once you have a commission and they have recommendations, and then our next stop will be now pushing for the implementation of the recommendations.
How successful has the implementation of the reports of commissions of inquiry in other cases? How successful have they been?
They've been, like, I'm giving you an example of Philip Waki and Philip Ramsey's commission. That's led to our constitutionality. It gave a lot of inputs.
Waki commission did a lot of work. My friend, we have not found justice for 2007 to post-election violence. Not justice. Not that people went to the Hague. No justice.
But don't you know that was a deterrent to successive elections? Currently, we're improving compared to the last elections we have.
Well.
Yeah, we've never gone back to 2007, have we?
You know, we need to actually invite you again so that we can actually look at these matters.
Livingston, thank you for coming.
Well, thank you very much.
Livingston Nyando is from the Independent Medical Legal Unit. We've been talking about police, and now, what IMLU is calling for, a commission of inquiry into extrajudicial killings and enforced disappearances. Have a lovely day, people. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning. It's 10 a.m.
Thank you very much.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The National Assembly is expected to resume sittings this afternoon.